know that it's good. What you say that on my taste buds. I get way too busy once you let me do the extras. Pull up on your block and break it down. We playing Tetris. AM to the PM, PM to the AM phone. Eat up your per diem. You just gotta hate them phone. If I quit your BM, I still rock Mercedes phone. If I quit this season, I still be the greatest funk. My left stroke just went viral. Right stroke put a baby in a spiral. Soprano C, we like to keep it on the high note. It's levels to it, you and I know. Tell them be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down.
And welcome in Out of Bounds here on 103.7 The Buzz. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. John Nabors, Joe Franklin, broadcasting live from the Hoggs Meat Market Studios with you today. And thank you as always for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, it is going to be a great Trash Talk Thursday here on Out of Bounds, where we're going to have a loaded show for you today. Because in the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to be joined by Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast. We'll go ahead to some of the SEC games that are going to be going on this weekend. Looking forward to that, as well as the other news with the Michigan stuff, because there's still always developments on that. So we'll have some fun with that with him. Andrew Ellis of hogsports.com will join us in the 3 o'clock hour, too. Talk a little basketball, but baseball, mainly, because there was some Razorback baseball news or SEC baseball news. Should mention that we're going to talk about and have some fun with him on that. We'll look ahead to some of the things going on in the sports world tonight as well. And, of course, hear from you, getting some phone calls and text messages. You can call or text in at 501-661-1037. Get after us in the Asher Record Live fan feedback. After me on Twitter at BuzzJohnNabors. And I'm actually up here in Fayetteville, Joe, and I don't know what the weather's like down there, but, man, it's just been pouring rain and extremely cold up here in Fayetteville, which is just a little bit of a difference from what it was the past few days, but it feels a lot more like fall today, at least up in Fayetteville, and I'm sure it's kind of similar down there in Little Rock, too.
It's that time of the year, and yes, it is raining here, so we've had a little warmth the past few days, and now it's cooling down because of the rain that's coming through, and then we're going to get some cool weather over the next few days.
See, I like it. I like it for the sake of good chilly weather, good soup weather, good hunting weather, good football weather, and that's what this weather is going to be all about. But, yeah, it's nice, and it's going to be a big weekend here on the Hill. I know in Fayetteville, the Razorback basketball going on tomorrow night against Gardner-Webb, have Razorback football against Auburn happening, of course, on Saturday at 3 o'clock, and you can hear all the broadcast right here on 103.7 The Buzz for those of you who are going to be interested in it. So Chuck Barrett's going to be having a busy weekend, but that's what he gets paid the big bucks for. But I'm looking forward to it, just being up here, and of course the NIL event that was mentioned tonight. So it'll be a lot of fun, which I don't even know if I'm going to be honest. I know that we're trying to make it happen, but it's so exclusive that I may get booted off early. I may not even get a chance to enter it into the whole thing. So we'll keep you updated on that, because I know everybody is waiting with bated breath. But yeah, it's going to be a big weekend, and looking forward to it. And I know with everything that's going on at this time of year, people are excited about it, and excited to see, not only the basketball team continuing to showcase their abilities, but see if the football team can really bounce back, which I started thinking about it, Joe, when I was doing some research, and I know we talked about the Auburn game, and I know you have your feelings on Auburn too, as well as a lot of people, but it's pretty incredible to see some of the more memorable games between these two opponents. And, I think back to 2006, Arkansas going to Auburn when they were number 2 in the country and ended up winning that game. And Darren McFadden kind of having his coming out party in 2006. You throw in, maybe the 2011 game where Arkansas was able to defeat them pretty handedly and have the offense going with, I think it was Gus Malzahn's last year as the offensive coordinator there at Auburn. 2015, the quadruple overtime. There's just been a lot of memorable games. And, I can't forget for the Fred Talley game. That's always gets referenced too for the amount of yardage he has. But
that's the one that comes to mind first and foremost.
Yeah, I was
Fred Talley, because he's still running, as people like to say.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that question. So yeah, it was a perfect segue, because I was like, what do you think? Which game do you think of? And yeah, that was definitely I wouldn't say it's my first memory of the Arkansas Auburn game, but it was certainly one that, man, it just seemed, I think it was 242 rushing yards, I think is what Fred Talley had in that game. Just an unbelievable game. And Arkansas had Auburn's number for a while there. I mean, there was times where, of course, Auburn would get theirs too, but during that time, I know with Fred Talley and Matt Jones and Cedric Cobbs, they did a really good job against the Tigers in a few of those years. And it always ended up being. It always seemed like Auburn would be whenever Auburn was ranked and Arkansas was not. It seemed like, at least during that time frame, that Arkansas would always find a way to beat them, because I have family members that are Auburn fans, and they hate Arkansas because of that fact. They just always felt like the time where they had a good thing going for them. They were ranked. They felt good about it. Arkansas would always find a way to win those games. And so there's been some history between these two opponents.
We can't forget about our guy Bass and tackling Bo Jackson. That was an Arkansas-Auburn matchup that happened in the 80s. So that's one that comes to mind also. It was in a bowl game.
Yeah. I've heard that many times, seen the video and everything. That's something that I don't care what anybody says and gives him a hard time. I would be crowing about it all day long too if I made a tackle on Bo Jackson. I would be about that. So I'll be curious to see, and we'll ask the question on social media, just, when you think of Arkansas and Auburn, what's the first game that comes to mind? What's the first series that comes to mind, or just first play, players, whatever it may be? Let us know. We'll call and text in 501-661-1037. I know we'll talk about that. We'll also have a little bit of discussion, because tonight you got some Thursday night football action on Prime, Amazon Prime that is, and it is going to be a barn burner of a game. You got Carolina Panthers, who are 1-7, going on the road to take on the Chicago Bears, who are 2-7. So both of these teams been struggling a lot this year for various reasons, and I know people have made fun of this game a lot as far as the matchup goes. Bet Saracen has Chicago favored by 3.5 points tonight, but I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to be interested, and it's just funny how this game gets scheduled. They do the schedule so far in advance, but I don't think anybody, maybe the Panthers, but I don't think anybody was thought that Chicago would maybe be in this position. But still, it's going to be an NFL game nonetheless. Just two teams have been struggling this year.
Well, at first thought, it's a couple of teams that are matching up that made a trade in the offseason for the NFL draft. And you're thinking it's going to be Justin Fields against the number 1 overall pick in Bryce Young. But we know, with unfortunate circumstances and injuries that happened during the year, that it's Tyler Bagent instead of Justin Fields. And that, with the Panthers, even though they had the number 1 overall pick, they didn't have that by record from last year. So they were expected to be in a better position in this season. Just hasn't gone their way. No,
it hasn't. Both teams are dead last in their division, with Carolina's at 1-7, and the team above them is Tampa at 3-5. But also Chicago being at 2-7, Green Bay's above them at 3-5. But yeah, it's just been a rough year for both teams, and of course they've had to deal with some injuries and whatnot. But it's going to be one of those games too. I think the over/under is set at Bet Saracen at 38.5 points. So it's also not exactly set up to be a high-scoring game, but who knows? Maybe it'll be one of those freaky, weird Thursday night games that everybody enjoys.
Yeah, it could be. We've seen that from the Bears this season when they played the Commanders, and they were struggling at the time. And that game in particular, they put it all together, and they scored in the 40s by themselves. So you never know what can happen in a game, but that is the beauty and the fun of wagering, because you're trying to pick the right side of that going into it, not knowing what the result is going to be on the other side.
Well, it's from the Southern Structural Solutions text line here from the 501. It's easy, simply says this game is weird because the Bears own the Panthers pick, is why he's saying it's weird. So, I guess there's a little connection there that could make it more so that way. But we'll talk more about that too as the show goes on. But let's go to the phone lines early. We got Matt in Little Rock, who's always on point and enjoying Razorbacks, but not so much the Broncos. But what's up, Matt?
Gentlemen, how are y'all on this beautiful rainy day?
Doing good, Matt.
Doing great, man.
Oh, I believe at the beginning of the season, I can't remember, Joe, if it was you that commented or if it was John that commented when I said I was done watching the Broncos for all of last year. I said I didn't watch a single game, and I didn't. And one of y'all said, "Oh, that's not what real fans do." And as much as I wanted to blame it on John, I think it was you, Joe.
No, that absolutely was me, because, if you're a fan of a team, you have to watch them and stick with them.
I agree with that. But I'm also an Arkansas fan, Joe. I'm also an Arkansas fan. You can only watch so much losing football in one football season. It's like I fill up on Arkansas badness, and then Denver's just terrible. It's like, I'm not even paying attention to them. I'll watch somebody else's team. I did call in earlier on the morning show. I don't know if they relayed my message or not. I was listening to the Devo interview. That man, he was a boy when he was first here. That man is going to be, at the end of this year, the best Arkansas Razorback basketball player we've had in the last 25 years. I'll say 23 years because it's 2023. So go back to the year 2000 and find me a person who has been a better Arkansas Razorback basketball player than Devo Davis. I mean, hands down. He's going to be known. We're going to know in 10 years, 15, 20 years from now as one of the greatest Arkansas basketball players ever.
Matt, we love Devo, but there have been some great ones in the last 23 years or so. Joe Johnson comes to mind, Mason Jones, Isaiah Joe. Those are some of the guys that just come to mind right away.
But how many of them played all 4 years and dedicated every ounce of their energy to the Arkansas Razorbacks? Right? Out of all of the people we've had come play here, how many stayed? Bobby Portis was a great Razorback. He was here 2 years. 2 years and 1 year on the bench. I mean, pick a Razorback from the last 20 years that's been here all 4 years, given every single thing that they've had to this program and helped us win. And Devo Davis is the only one you can come up with. Fellas, I'll hang up and listen.
I appreciate it, Matt.
Appreciate it, Matt.
So, yeah, that makes a difference if you're talking about somebody that stayed the entire time. That's just not what college sports are about these days. Players come, they contribute, and they move on, whether it's moving on to the pro ranks or transfer portal and move on to a different school.
Yeah, because that's the thing is Devo's had that really great balance of everything where he's been a good player, but he hasn't been too good to where he's just gone on to the league and into the NBA. It's not to say that he can't go pro at any certain time. I think he can, but you just don't see players like that where not only are they good enough to contribute, they have a lot of success, especially postseason success, and they don't transfer out and they don't go pro. It's more about, I'm not going to say Devo Davis is the greatest Razorback of this millennium as far as basketball goes, but I will say he is without question the most uniquely great Razorback of this decade, or this millennium, because you can't see that many players that do what he's done, and you got to give him a lot of credit for it. So, but you mentioned a bunch of great ones, Joe. You know, you think about Ronnie Brewer, you think about Moses Moody, Sonny Weems, like guys like that. There's a lot of great Razorbacks that came through, but Devo deserves all the credit and all the respect for sure. But let's wait till his career is over, and then we can talk about where he ranks among the all-time greats in this millennium. But appreciate your phone call, Matt. If you want in on the conversation, 501-661-1037 is that number to call or to text in. We got a lot more Out of Bounds on a Trash Talk Thursday coming up next, so stay with us.
Get in the zone with Justin Acree and Wes Moore every day from 10 to 1, live from the Oakwan Racing Casino Resort Studios on 103.7 The Buzz.
This is Sports Center.
Last night in the NBA, the Bucks beat the Pistons 120-118 despite Giannis Antetokounmpo being ejected midway through the third. Bobby Portis had a big night as he had 18 points and 5 rebounds off the bench. On the season, he's averaging 12 points and 5 rebounds in 20 minutes a game. The Grizzlies dropped to 1-7 on the season, losing to the Heat 108-102. The Grizzlies will face the Jazz on Friday. The Wizards beat the Hornets 132-116. Daniel Gafford had 5 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 13 minutes in that game. For the Hornets, Nick Smith Jr. played 4 minutes in the fourth quarter and had 5 points on 2 for 2 from the field. Tonight in the league, there will be a doubleheader on NBA TV. First up, the Pacers will host the Bucks at 6. Then at 8:30, the Hawks will take on the Magic. And in the NFL, Thursday Night Football will have the Bears taking on the Panthers at 7:15. I'm Christian Weaver with the Buzz Radio Network.
If you are looking for a safe and loving home for you or your loved one, visit Heartland Rehabilitation and Care Center. Just 15 minutes from Little Rock and Benton, our skilled nursing staff is dedicated to providing quality long-term care and short-term therapy. Visit heartlandrehabcenter.com. You can call Heartland home.
Roger Scott on location, noon to 2 p.m. Friday at Central Arkansas Karting Complex, 49 Ricky Bobby Way in Valonia. The track has new cadet carts for 8 to 13-year-olds, new 2-seater carts, and the adult carts that go up to 50 50 miles per hour. Perfect Christmas present for the holidays, a gift card from the Central Arkansas Karting Complex in Valonia.
Thanksgiving is almost here, which means it's time to start thinking about your holiday plans. This year, save time along with the worry and hassle and let the team at Edwards Food Giant do it for you. Their turkey dinner includes the turkey as well as their signature cornbread dressing, giblet gravy, cranberry sauce, and dinner rolls. All fully cooked, homemade, and ready for you to heat and serve to your family. If that's not enough, their deluxe turkey dinner also includes sweet potato casserole, green beans, and apple pie. Now that's what I call a Thanksgiving spread. Click on edwardsfoodgiant.com to view their full menus and find out how to order your dinner.
Did you know Arch Marine is the kayak leader in Central Arkansas? Right now, get 20% off all feel-free kayaks. All the prices are falling on kayaks this month. Don't forget, we repair ATVs. Your granddaddy trusted Arch Marine, and so can you.
Stacked Commercial Truck and Trailer Repair is not only truck and trailer focused. They service and repair all types of equipment: forklifts, boom lifts, excavators, dozers, loaders, and more. From warehousing to excavating, they've got you covered. Go see why Stacked is known for having some of the friendliest staff and most knowledgeable technicians in the industry. For trucks, trailers, RVs, material handling, or construction equipment, Stacked Commercial Truck and Trailer in Whitehall.
This is the Pigskin Preacher, bringing you the word. Famed American humorist Will Rogers used to say, "I don't make jokes, I just watch the government and report the facts." With the political world more divided and ridiculous than ever, the British band Elbow sums up the current situation with the lyric, "The leaders of the free world are just little boys throwing stones, and it's easy to ignore till they're knocking on the door of your homes." Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Not that they'd even be smart enough to find the door of your homes. Unlike the government, Double B's won't waste your time. You can pay at the pump with your Exxon or Phillips 66 mobile apps, or use your Exxon credit card to save 10 cents a gallon. Double B's. It's where you gas it, grab it, and go. That's Double B's.
Attenzion, attenzion. North Little Rock Tourism is proud to present the Piccolo Zope Winter Circus November 9th through November 19th. The Zope family have been enchanting audiences around the world since traveling the cobblestone roads of Italy in 1842. Piccolo Zope is an intimate European-style circus, and no audience member is more than 18 feet away from the ring. Feel the rush of the Zope horses, an experience young and old will not soon forget. November 9th through 19th. For tickets, go to piccolozope.com.
Graham here from Westwood One. Coming up on Thursday Night Football, NFL Week 10 begins in Chicago with the Bears hosting the Panthers. Rookie quarterback Bryce Young and Carolina are looking for their first road win of the season. Ian Eagle and newly inducted Hall of Famer Joe Thomas will have the call on air and on the free live stream sponsored by AutoZone on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on 103.7 The Buzz.
O'Reilly. It's See Better, Drive Safer month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Replace your worn-out wiper blades and get up to a $20 O'Reilly gift card after rebate when you purchase a pair of select wiper blades. See store for details. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades for free. Stop by your O'Reilly Auto Parts store or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now, and the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products, and we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Fire up the grill this summer with the highest quality of meats from Hoggs Meat Market and their new location off JFK Boulevard in North Little Rock. Hoggs Meat Market, the steak people. You're listening to Out of Bounds with John Nabors and Joe Franklin.
Hey! Turn that damn jukebox on!
On 103.7 The Buzz.
It is Out of Bounds here on a Trash Talk Thursday. Appreciate everybody listening in this afternoon. And again, if you want in on the conversation, call or text in at 501-661-1037, which on our Southern Structural Solutions text line, we've already had a few people giving their thoughts on, most memorable games between Arkansas and Auburn and what they thought about. And this came from the 501, which should not be remiss. But the 2001 Arkansas and Auburn game may not be one that comes to mind immediately, but I think it would come to mind if you told people that was Matt Jones's first touchdown pass. In fact, it was the first time he ever touched the ball for the Arkansas Razorbacks was against Auburn, where he threw a touchdown pass, famously, and kind of had his coming out party in that one, too. So that's another great one. Seemed like a lot of great players had their coming out party against Auburn, whether it was Matt Jones or Darren McFadden. Maybe it's just the timing of it, but there was two of the greatest to ever do it with Matt Jones and D-Mac. Auburn was the opponent when they announced their presence as being one of the all-time greats.
Something about playing Auburn must be, but it's just probably more coincidental and timing that it happened. And those guys, they just happen to have good games. Yes, they did. And again, hopefully there's somebody else can have a coming out party this weekend for Arkansas and end up being a memorable game. That's what people are hoping for. Also from the Southern Structural Solutions text line, we got Dakota saying, Joe, my Packers will show your Steelers that love hurts on this weekend. So I like how you put all that together. That's nice, Dakota. Yeah, it'll be an interesting game here on Sunday. We'll see what happens. Steelers, according to Bet Saracen, are favored by 3 over the Packers. Might be an interesting game and a pretty good bet there, too. Also, Asher Record Life fan feedback. This comes from, I guess I didn't have a name for it, but it was just talking about with Matt's call to Devo Davis. Says, best Arkansas player. Not sure, but I agree he is one of the most dedicated players ever at Arkansas. Now, that's a good way to put it, too. Dedicated, because, again, the guy's done a really great job as a Razorback in his time. Oh, and they didn't even realize this. This is another great text, because Tyler Wilson technically had his coming out party against Auburn when Ryan Mallett got hurt. So that was another one. Did. Yeah. So yeah, played really well. Yeah, man, a lot of good ones there for Arkansas in those Auburn games. So yeah, keep those responses coming, folks, because again, those are pretty good ones. And I'm trying to think of who could be the one that has their coming out party, because KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders, they've already had it. Maybe one of the other running backs. All the other wide receivers are going to be gone after this year, so it's not a whole lot of young players at play. But maybe there'll be one. Maybe it's maybe Rashad Dubinion gets going. I know he was out last weekend for his grandmother's funeral, which hated to hear that. But maybe this is something for him to where he becomes the guy after a coming out party against Auburn. Maybe it ends up being him. I don't know. There could be some options. But I look forward to seeing, because again, everybody will hope that that's the case. We'll take a win no matter what at this point. Let's go to Savage, who's in Cabot. What's up, Savage?
What's going on, fellas? John, you think there's anything to it? Rocket Sanders coming back. The only reason he came back is because Enos was fired.
I mean, I don't know. I think that I've heard some speculation about that, and I know people have said that Rocket was not coming back, but then he decided to come back, and it seemed like the timing was too perfect because he only came back when Dan Enos was fired. So, I mean, it does correlate, but I don't know. If you're Rocket Sanders, he was still on the sidelines for the game against Mississippi State. He was right there next to the coaches. He was still coaching them up and everything. So it wasn't like he was just missing. But I don't know. That's something that maybe we'll find out later when things start to come out. But I don't have any truth to it, at least not at this point.
Well, I appreciate it, guys.
I appreciate it. Yeah, because I don't know how you feel about it, Joe, but I don't know. We don't know what goes through players' minds, especially those, but I have a hard time believing that he would just sit out for that long and say, all right, well, now I want to come back now that the offensive coordinator got fired. That's what I was waiting on, and that would be the only reason I would come back. I just don't see that from Rocket. Yeah, because how would he have any idea that was going to happen before it happened? Right. Or if, he had his mind set on he was done, and then that happens, and then he says, oh, you know what? All of a sudden, I had a change of heart. I do want to go back and play. It just doesn't make sense in the big picture. Now, a comparison that was made with Rocket Sanders was kind of the Nick Smith Jr. injury and the timeline there, and hearing some of the similar things about he wasn't coming back, but then behind the scenes he's putting in the work to be able to come back. So there are some similarities there. Yeah, I think that's probably the best case of where it could make a little bit more sense would be that, but I don't know. And that's not saying I know Rocket Sanders personally, but just knowing how he handles himself and also the coaching staff too. Sam Pittman made a mistake in hiring Dan Enos. We all know that, but I just don't see Sam Pittman being the type where I don't care how good you are or whatnot, but him just coming out and being like, oh, okay, Rocket, well, I know you were not playing and, for whatever reason, but now that I fired the coach, you say, oh, coach, now I'm ready to go. I don't think Sam Pittman would be like, oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no problems. Come on in. I just don't know if he would do that. I don't think he would do that. So it's just an interesting timing is all it is. It's just an interesting timing. Also from the 501, Southern Structural Solutions text line says Isaiah Satania. That could be his coming out party this weekend. Take that if he gets some playing time there. And also ask if Andrew Armstrong's going to play. It sounded like Sam Pittman said he was. I know he had that really scary moment against Florida and was knocked unconscious. But from all intents and purposes, Sam Pittman's made it sound like he will be playing. Don't know how much, don't know what, but he says he's good to go. And I feel like when he says he's good to go, that means he's good to go. So just got to trust Sam Pittman.
All the pieces they can have in place is going to be helpful because we know that there has been a struggle this year. They were able to get a win last week, but it's just the start of something if they're able to keep that going. So any kind of players that they can have along to help the cause, then it's going to be welcome for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all the time. All the time it's going to be welcome. And also from the Southern Structural Solutions text line, they ask about what is Washington's current injury condition. Assuming you're talking about Ty Washington, it's a shoulder injury that he's going to have surgery on. So he's out for the season. That's the extent of what we know. Which is unfortunate because you talk about a position like the offense hasn't been great this year as it is. We all know that. But think about the position of tight end where you didn't have much depth and haven't had much depth in a while. You finally get some guys in there like Luke has. You get some guys out of the transfer portal, and you got Ty Washington. And then it looks like you really, really, really got a great young player in Luke has, and he gets hurt after, what was that? Is it the fourth game of the season, I believe, against Texas A&M, fourth or fifth? And he's out. And then Ty Washington, who showed some signs, is also out. So the position that you felt like you were going to be able to utilize this year, you haven't utilized much because of the offense, but also two of the best tight ends you have on the team get injured and out for the season for the rest of the year, so which is just a bummer for them.
Now, is that something else that Dan Enos is going to be blamed for, the fact that there are talented tight ends and, that position as a whole we thought was talented coming into the season, but they were only taking advantage of using Luke Hass and his talents and not using multiple tight ends at the same time, where it seemed like it would benefit the team to play both those guys. Or what they gave us in the beginning was we're going to play Luke has, and then we're going to have a blocking tight end in there at the same time to enhance the running game. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, like, overall. So is that something else that people are blaming Dan Enos for?
Probably so. I mean, it's the entire offense. It was a failure from the get-go. We all know that. But to sit here and say that, oh, well, Enos is to blame for everything. I mean, he is the offensive coordinator, but I still think that there can be some other blame to go around. Who knows? Maybe some of these players that they brought in, like Francis Sherman or Varquise Gums, because Varquise Gums was the guy that was one of the highly touted, not only tight ends in the transfer portal, but just a player in the transfer portal. And he's got 2 catches this year. So, I mean, one of these guys are going to have to step up in the absence. And, if Gums or Sherman can't find a role now when the 2 best tight ends are out with an injury, if they can't find a role, I'm like, then what happened here? Did it go wrong? Did they not be able to play? Like, what happened here?
Still going to blame Dan Enos for it.
Yep.
That's what that's what'll be the answer.
Yep.
Well, Dan Enos, he didn't help in their development, so he's the reason that those guys aren't where they should be at this point in the season.
Yep. Dan Enos is going to just be the guy. If anything gets asked about in the offense from here on out or even beforehand of why it didn't work, why it wasn't good, why a player didn't play well, whatever it is, just Dan Enos. Just blame him. Just blame Dan Enos. Make a song out of it. But if you see the offense start to put more things together this weekend, then maybe you'll start to see a lot more people feeling that way about Dan Enos and just how bad it was. But I don't know. I'll look at it, Joe, and maybe this is just the glass half full for me. If the offense is really good again this weekend against Auburn, I don't know if I'm going to necessarily look at it as, oh, this just shows you how bad Enos is. I'm going to look at it as, hey, Kenny Guyton might be the guy for the job. Maybe Kenny Guyton is going to be the dude that is in his position and has made the most of it. And I feel like the better, or at least you're hopeful that the better that the Arkansas offense looks the rest of the year. I'm not going to look at it and be like, oh, Dan Enos this. I'm going to be like, no, maybe Kenny Guyton's the guy that can be able to continue on as the offensive coordinator.
That's the right way to look at it, because it is time to move forward and don't worry about what happened in the past. And if you do want to worry about what happened in the past, this offense has looked good at times throughout the season. It's just that they haven't been able to put it all together and come away with some of these wins, especially in close games where, I mean, you think about the result of the Florida game. If the result goes the other way, which it could have, and it was close to at the end of the game where Florida is attempting a game-winning field goal, we're not talking as positive as we are right now about the offense, because all everybody would think would be about the end result of the game and not necessarily that the offense played better and they looked better. Just be thinking about the end result.
Yeah, you're right about it. It's that one play that made all the difference, where if Florida makes the field goal, it changes the whole narrative. It changes the whole vibe. It changes the whole feeling of everything right now. Because not only do you lose another game by one possession, and not only are people bringing up whether it's offense, defense, whatever, but now you're completely and totally out of bowl contention if you had lost to Florida that way. And it becomes, well, it's like, hey, well, they're not making a bowl game, so what does it matter? What does the Auburn game even matter? What does the rest of the games even matter? Because they're not moving on. There's nothing to play for. So let's blow this up. Let's get a new coach, whatever it is. But that one play, that one missed kick by that Florida field goal kicker. I know there's other plays too, but that one in the very end, that one missed kick may have just saved a lot of Razorback fans' hopes, may have saved some people's jobs, and may have even saved a lot of people's overall mental well-being, because they actually got finally a win over a team in one possession.
And the only thing with that is just saying, let's still, like we were taking the give it one game at a time approach and give it some more time. It still should be that right now, and not just you got the win against Florida and now all of a sudden it's, oh, they're going to win out. I mean, it's good to be optimistic like that, but it's still one game at a time approach. You have to worry about Auburn before you can worry about getting through FIU like most people are thinking, and then get to the game against Missouri at the end of the year, because right now there are a lot of people thinking, okay, well, next two games, it's a win, and then just worry about Missouri for that last game, and that's the game you're going to be playing for bowl contention. That's not the case. They have to get past Auburn first to even be in that position.
Yeah, because I don't care who you are or what games you've watched. If you've seen these games between Arkansas and Auburn, it's always been a weird game. You know, we talk about great moments for Arkansas, but against Auburn itself, again, you've won since the year 2013. So the past 10 years, we'll just call it 10 years. You have won twice. And one of the years you won was, some people would chalk up to being just having a lame duck coach in Brian Harsin. And the other time you won, you needed quadruple overtime at home where you blew a big lead. So it doesn't matter about when or where or how this game is played against Auburn. I don't care who the coach is. I don't care what their record is. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's freaking Auburn. And you have not had a lot of success against them, especially in the past 10 years. You haven't had much success against a lot of teams in the past 10 years, except maybe like Ole Miss. But like besides that, you have not had the success that you have needed against Auburn. And this might be the opportunity to kind of right the ship. But to say that it's like, oh, you can be confident. You can say, hey, I'm confident that we can win this game. I'm confident that they can go in, and if Arkansas plays their A game, they'll win. Like, it's okay to say that. But to think, oh, well, Auburn's just not good. Like, man, Arkansas has not been good. So it's hard for me to really say, hey, I feel like Arkansas is going to win this one easy when you have not been able to beat Auburn except for twice over the past 10 years. And Auburn is also fighting for something, which is bowl eligibility. So it's both teams got a lot to fight for in this game.
There's nothing that's going to be easy about any of these games. Now, if we get to the end of the season and Arkansas does win out and the offense does look so much better and they're putting up a lot of points, the defense is playing at a high level, then, yeah, maybe we could look back to this point and say that was the turning point, and look how much better the team was after, the change with Dan Enos and winning the Florida game. But right now, we can't sit here and say that.
No, we can't. And in fact, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to feel it. Even if Arkansas has a lead 21 points, they're up in the fourth quarter, I ain't going to feel good about it. There's no reason to feel good about it. But I think that if there's any theme, if there is a guarantee or at least something I could put a lot of confidence points in, is that this game against Auburn is once again going to come down to one possession. Because that's just what Arkansas does. It's going to be a one-possession game. I'm not saying Arkansas for sure will win or that they'll for sure lose, but I think both teams are pretty evenly matched. Both teams have had their ups and downs, and both teams are fighting for something. So the way it is, this is the way for Arkansas. They're going to have to find a way to win another one-possession game. Did they learn it from Florida? Did they finally figure it out enough to say, okay, now if we do this again, we can figure it out? Or is it going to end up being something that they just got lucky in or they just kind of fell backwards into? I want to see if this team can once again overcome and win another close game in the fourth quarter, especially in front of the home fans, because they really deserve that.
And we don't know, what this game will be like. We don't know if it'll be lopsided one way or another. We don't know if it'll be an offensive explosion from both teams or if it could be a defensive game. Now, when you think about those options, I would think more so that it could be a defensive game where it's a low-scoring, tight game, but we just don't know that.
No, and I'm even afraid to even predict it because it seems like anytime that you start feeling one way about a certain game, it ends up going the completely other way because Arkansas is still favored in this game according to Bet Saracen. I think it's 2.5 right now, but the over-under set at 48.5 points. So, I mean, right now I would say bet the under just because both teams have had their struggles offensively, even though Auburn is a really good rushing team. And both defenses have been okay, not great, but have been decent enough. So, yeah, it could be I could see this 100% being a low-scoring game, similar to what we saw maybe in the Ole Miss game, like a 27-20, which is funny. I'm saying that's a low-scoring game, but, yeah, I could see it being that way in the under.
No. When you said it, the first thought that came out was the Mississippi State game. Now, that was low-scoring.
Yeah. That one, I don't know if you could, but that is the definition of low scoring, lowest of scores for that game. Yeah, that's just. Oof.
But a good defensive battle. I know a lot of people don't care for those because they want to see points, they want to see touchdowns scored at all times. But if your team comes out with a win, then it won't matter how low the score was. As long as they come out with a win, then people would be happy with the result.
Yeah, because let me ask you this, Joe. If Arkansas won 7-3 over Auburn, do you think Razorback fans would be happy?
They may not be happy with the game itself, but they'd be happy with the result and the fact that that bowl game, getting there, it's still alive. The hope is still there.
Yeah. I mean, I'd sign up for however it's going to be a win. Just give me a win. I don't care what the score is, but I just want it to be also aesthetically pleasing if they can make that possible, too. We got a lot more Out of Bounds and what's trending in the world of sports coming up next, so you better stay with us on a Trash Talk Thursday.
The numbers don't lie. Barry Brandt is the GOAT of Arkansas weather. 36 years experience and double the viewers of any other meteorologist. No nonsense, no hype, just accurate weather forecasts you can trust. That's why more Arkansans get their weather from Barry Brandt over any other source. There's just no question. He's the GOAT. Chief Meteorologist Barry Brandt. Weeknights on Channel 7 News at 6 and 10.
The Rogers family for Capital Business Machines.
It's real important to keep going what our dad has started.
He had a good reputation, and we want to continue that reputation. Business is about relationships, and I think a lot of times it gets too corporate, too internet, too impersonal, and we want to continue that legacy that our dad has started. Treat people right, and they'll take care of you, too.
Contact us today for a free document assessment at catbiz.com.
It's football time in Arkansas. Step up to the line of scrimmage each Tuesday during Drive Time Sports for Scoop and Score with me, Kevin Bohannon. I'll give you the latest news and information about anything football from high school to college in the natural state. Special thanks to the Wood family of dealerships in Batesville for making this all happen.
This is Pat Bradley for Whit Davis Lumber Plus. Whit Davis Lumber Company is your blueprint for success. Whether you're a professional contractor or just need a hand being handy, Whit Davis is your partner for getting the job done right. From quality materials to tools for projects inside and out, they understand how important quality is when it comes to your home. So, when you're in need of a lumberyard or hardware store, think of my friends over at Whit Davis. You can find them in Jacksonville, Cabot, Sherwood, and Greenbrier, or online at whitdavis.com.
Mow, dig, haul, lift. The versatile Kubota BX Series subcompact tractor does it all. Switching attachments is simple, and a smooth hydrostatic transmission makes for easy operation. The Kubota BX Series, rated #1 in durability and owner experience. Talk to your local Kubota dealer today to schedule a demo. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer. River Valley Tractor, closer than you think.
So have you been living life with pain and you keep saying, well, I'm going to go to the doctor, but I really don't want to do the surgery and I don't want to be on pain meds forever? Well, I have an option for you. It's called QC Kinetics. Hey, everybody, it's RJ Hawk. I just had a buddy the other day that came up to me and he said, hey, look, I keep hearing your ads. I'm going to give them a try. What's the number? I'm going to tell you right now, 501-222-8440. Look, there is absolutely no reason that you need to keep living with all this joint pain. If you've got hip pain, back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, you owe it to yourself to go by for this free consultation to QC Kinetics. There's people all over Central Arkansas that are using QC Kinetics right now, and it's changing their life. It's giving them their life back. They use properties from your own body to heal your body. So there's no surgery, no downtime, and especially no drugs. Give them a call today for that free consultation, 501-222-8440. That's 501-222-8440. 501-222-8440.
Southern Four Coating presents the Zone Rewind. Tune in Fridays when Justin and Wes discuss their best moments, sound bites, and interviews of the week. Ready to transform your patio, porch, or pool deck? Call the pros at Southern Four Coating. Find them online at southernfourcoating.com.
Need a new ride for the big game? Or a new tailgate to party on? Get in the game at Gwatney Chevrolet in Jacksonville and score every time. Hundreds of vehicles to choose from test drive to touchdown. Gwatney Chevrolet is in it to win your business. Gwatney Chevrolet, 1301 TP White in Jacksonville, Arkansas's #1 Chevy dealer. Call us at 982-2102 or visit GwatneyChevrolet.com. Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Make your tailgate the party of the parking lot by getting the best meats in all of Arkansas at Hoggs Meat Market, the steak people. You're listening to Out of Bounds with John Nabors and Joe Franklin.
Third down goal to go, just outside the 5. In the gun, KJ, bad snap, ball's on the ground. Jefferson picks it up, rolling right. Got a man, touchdown, Arkansas. Armstrong in the back of the end zone. The snap hit the turf. KJ never panicked, picked it up, rolled right, and the throw was right on the money.
On 103.7 The Buzz.
If you're shopping for a vehicle, you want to get to Gwatney Chevrolet. Gwatney has best deals in the market, been doing it 60-plus years. Give them a call, 501-982-2102. When you're shopping at Gwatney, the Red Tag event is going on right now, so you can choose 1.9%, or you can choose some total cash allowance. You can choose either option on a 2024 Equinox or 2023 Silverado Crew Cabs. Make the trip to the Gregory Street exit in Jacksonville. Shop them online, GwatneyChevrolet.com. You can see all the deals, the cash allowances, the rebates, even appraise the vehicle, see just how much it's worth. They're giving thousands over book value, whether you trade that vehicle in or you sell it to Gwatney Chevrolet. Gwatney is always actively buying vehicles, so you get a great deal on the vehicle that you trade in or sell. See the entire inventory of new and pre-owned vehicles on GwatneyChevrolet.com. Get a deal started on GwatneyChevrolet.com before making a trip to the Gregory Street exit in Jacksonville. It's Gwatney Chevrolet, Arkansas's #1 Chevy dealer. Gwatney Chevrolet, GwatneyChevrolet.com.
It is Out of Bounds here on a Trash Talk Thursday. Appreciate everybody listening in this afternoon as we are going to get to what's trending in the world of sports here in just a second. Now we'll have some plenty of storylines to get into that. But before we do, real quick on the Southern Structural Solutions text line, got Uncle Jesse and Benton saying, you guys are forgetting that Arkansas just went into Gainesville and put 30-plus points on a team that was on Tennessee. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I read this right. You guys are forgetting that Arkansas just went into Gainesville and put 30-plus points on a team that Tennessee was only able to score 11 points on. I'm not worried about the offense. This game is all on Travis Williams. man, I don't know. I don't disagree. I think both of them definitely have to bring it, but at the same time, though, you got to put this into perspective too. You have not been great offensively, and you've only had one game under Kenny Guyton to where the offense worked. Maybe it'll be 2 in a row. I hope it is, but we got to see more of it. And Auburn's going to be motivated to go into this game and win. So you're going to get your best shot. And Hugh Freeze is a coach that beat you last year with his Liberty team down in Fayetteville. So don't forget that too. He's a good coach, and he's a guy that's won a lot of games in the SEC at Ole Miss and at Auburn and even at Liberty. So just remember that.
Nobody's forgetting that, though, but because they put up points on LSU, which LSU's defense, maybe you look more into that because of how many points they scored, but they scored with Ole Miss. They scored with Bama. They just didn't come up with the result in the end to get the wins.
Yeah, you're gonna have to just make when you get into the red zone, or if you get into goal line situations, punch it in for touchdowns. Do that. That's the thing. When you do have opportunities, make the most of them. Don't just have them go to waste. And Cam Little's great, and I love it when he kicks field goals because you feel confident about it. But don't have it to where at the end of the game and the box score reads that you had 6 red zone opportunities and 4 of them were field goal attempts. Like you want to get it into the end zone. You want to get some touchdowns. You want to get some points to alleviate some of the pressure on the defense too. Let's go to Kane, who's on the line. What's up, Kane?
No, Kane, he's hanging out for a second.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
We can get to what's trending.
All right, let's do it.
What's Trending in Sports is brought to you by Arkansas's own West Rock Coffee. Join West Rock Coffee, the Razorbacks, and their 1.5 million farmers around the globe. It's fall, so now it's time for your team to stock up on coffee, tea, and water delivered directly to your business. Contact them at westrockcoffee.com or 833-886-JAVA today.
All right, what's trending in the world of sports? A few things that are going down. And speaking of college football, some quarterback news. It seems like we always have some NFL news, but in the quarterback news for the college football side of things is that Quinn Ewers for the University of Texas, he will be starting against TCU this weekend after missing 2 games with a sprained shoulder. We know how great he was and has been this season, but after being out for 2 weeks, Steve Sarkisian says he's had a great week of practice. I thought he's got stronger as the week went on. I really didn't feel like there was a throw that he couldn't make. So big news for Texas getting back Quinn Ewers. And, I mean, he was a guy that went down to Alabama and beat them in Tuscaloosa, and he was a big part of it. So they desperately needed him back. And also some other news, Tom Coughlin, which shout out to him. I've always liked Tom Coughlin, but he has been the general manager and head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he went to the Giants, won 2 Super Bowls, as we know. He's going to be inducted into the franchise's Ring of Honor during the 2024 season. It's crazy. He's 77 years old, but he's going to be the 7th member of the Pride of the Jaguars, joining Pro Football Hall of Famer Tony Vaselli, as well as Mark Brunell, Fred Taylor, Jimmy Smith, and others. So big honor for Tom Coughlin, and I've always felt like he was one of those coaches that, man, he's a great one and won 2 Super Bowls, but maybe just doesn't get the credit that he deserves, but still a great one nonetheless. And also with some NBA news, this is something that LeBron James is getting. Say what you want about the man, but there's no doubt that he remembers his hometown very well. And apparently they're going to be having a thing called LeBron James's Home Court there in Akron, Ohio, which is a museum dedicated to LeBron James as well as his many milestones. It's going to be opening up on November 25th. It's going to be a multimedia experience where the museum will include a recreation of the apartment where he and his mother Gloria lived, among items with his childhood, high school playing career, championship runs with Cleveland, Miami, and also the Los Angeles Lakers. And the museum is at House 330, a facility started by the James Foundation to serve the community where he was raised. So LeBron's having that open up, and I think it's a great thing. I mean, say what you want about LeBron, but going back to that mix and being able to still remember where he's from and his hometown is always a cool thing, too. Also, I love this thing because we talk about sports betting, obviously, with Saracen and some of the over-unders and some of the spreads and whatnot. Well, this has been a wild one with Rutgers and Iowa. We know both teams have not exactly been known for their offense, but it's right now where it stands is it's a historic low for the over-under in college football since they've been doing sports books at 28 points. It is the lowest, and it's a consensus of any college football game since at least the year 2000. So how about that? An over-under set at 28 points. 4 touchdowns in this entire game.
Wait a minute. I thought it broke the record that just happened when it was 29.5 with Iowa. It was an Iowa game that just happened like a couple of weeks ago.
I guess that they're saying that since it's a it's a unanimous consensus 28 among all sports books, maybe there was some discrepancy in the other one. I don't know, but that's scored to ESPN.com. They say that it is the lowest of any college football game since at least 2000, according to ESPN Stats and Information Research. So, man.
Okay.
Yeah, it says it would be
at least 2,000 or at least 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
one or the other.
Yeah, somewhere in between there. Because it said it will be the first game with an over/under total less than 30 points in ESPN's odds database. So,
again,
it
has to be the fact that they all agreed on it and they all had the same line.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. So, I know we're going to be up against it here in just a little bit, but that's what's trending in the world of sports. But I do want to bring up this story too. I don't know if it's funny or if it's sad or if it's just speculation or whatnot, but this thing with Josh McDaniels and the story that came out of a book that actually involved Peyton Hillis. That's right. Kind of a weird connection there, but also a weirder story nonetheless. But we'll talk about that because we were up against it. We're going to take a top of the hour update. When we come back, we're going to have Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast joining us. We'll look ahead to some of the college football games this weekend, especially in the SEC. What do you think about the Arkansas-Auburn game? Should the Razorbacks feel confident going into this game? Does he like their chances? We'll get to that and a lot more coming up next in the second hour of Out of Bounds on a Trash Talk Thursday.
Want to know about bass tournaments and some of the best fishing spots in the state? Well, tune in to Fishing Arkansas Sunday mornings with Big Sarge and his crew. Fishing Arkansas is presented by Fletcher Auto Group, Shelter Insurance Agent Jamie Marsh, Stanley Hardware, and Cooper's Nursery in Cabot. Fishing Arkansas every Sunday morning from 8:30 to 10 on 103.7 The Buzz.
This is Pat Bradley for Alcoa Community Federal Credit Union. Hunting season has arrived in Arkansas. Alcoa Community FCU has the perfect loan to cover all your hunting adventures, whether hunting the natural state or looking for a new travel trailer or going on an expedition. Alcoa Community Federal Credit Union will help get you there with the perfect loan. Alcoa Community Federal Credit Union now serving Saline, Grant, Garland, Hot Spring, and Perry counties. Online at alcoacommunityfcu.org.
It's Houston Nut. Wednesdays are Morning Mayhem presented by Reed's Metals of Benton. This holiday season, Reed's Metals is donating a new metal roof to a neighbor in need as part of their Covering the Community program. If you know someone in need of a new roof, nominate them online at reedsmetals.com/giving-back. Nominations accepted through November 22nd.
I'm so angry.
Don't be upset. You can always listen to us.
You're better than that.
103.7 The Buzz. KABZ Little Rock. Buzz News with Channel 7's Ryan Houston.
Pine Bluff police officer Tiffany Wood is back home after she was hit by a suspected drunk driver. She suffered injuries like a broken rib, femur, knee, and a broken vertebrae, along with some head injuries. Nearly a week after the incident, Wood was able to go home. She thanked her family and friends and her positive attitude for making the recovery process a lot faster. It could be several months before she's back on duty as a patrol officer. The Benton Police Department confirmed that Detective James Lett has died. He had been hospitalized for more than a week following the crash on October 28. Detective Lett was on his way to a drug take-back event at the Benton Police Department when his car hydroplaned and hit a bridge guardrail near Rodney Parham. Detective Lett had been with the Benton Police since 2019, and he started his career in law enforcement back in 1996. From the Channel 7 Newsroom, I'm Ryan Houston.
Edwards Food Giant presents Razorback Baseball color analyst and Drop Time Sports co-host Rick Schaefer every Tuesday morning on Morning Mayhem. Rick will share his special take on Razorback sports with the guys each week. Edwards Food Giant, the meat people, the only stop you'll ever have to make for your family's groceries.
Weather from the Fletcher Weather Center with Channel 7 meteorologist James Bryant.
Pack a rain jacket or umbrella for the rain today. There's a 100% chance of rain, especially gets going as you get into the afternoon and overnight hours. We could see 1-inch rainfall amounts for the metro area. We'll also see breezy conditions with wind gusts as high as 20 miles per hour. From the Channel 7 Weather Center, I'm James Bryant.
Buy one, get one free at the Riverfront Steakhouse. This Thursday night, we're going to have prime rib, 12-ounce prime rib served with our great mashed potatoes. Buy one, get one free.
Are you a fan or are you the ultimate fan? Play the Alon DK Ultimate Sports Fan Package Sweepstakes for a chance to prove you're the world's greatest armchair quarterback. All from the comfort of your own home theater. Visit an Alon DK near you to enter for a chance to build your own home theater with a $5,000 Best Buy gift card plus a YouTube TV gift card. Your ticket to streaming your favorite games this season. Visit an Alon or DK today and score big. No purchase necessary. 18 or older. Message and data rates may apply. For official rules, eligibility, terms and conditions, and privacy policy, visit myalon.com/ultimate sports fan sweeps.
Slim Chickens of Central Arkansas presents Rollin' with Nolan on Drive Time Sports with Randy Rainwater and Rick Schaefer every Thursday at 6 on 103.7 The Buzz.
Where can you find 16 cold beers on tap, the largest Irish whiskey selection in town, weekday happy hour, as well as college, pro, and even World Cup football games all on big screen TVs? Oh, and let's not forget the great food, great drinks, daily lunch specials, music on the weekends, and a private party room available with reservation. Well, of course it's Dugan's Pub, your favorite Irish pub in Little Rock since 2010. Dugan's Pub, downtown 3rd and Rock Street. Dugan'sPubLR.com.
Roger Scott, I'm going to talk to you about Sigma Supply Packaging Products and how they think outside the box. Sigma Supply, the problem solvers. Now, they've been helping business owners for years with their waste audit analysis program. They're going to come in, they're going to analyze your packaging and shipping and see if automation is what you need to cut costs. Call or text sales manager David Breitenberg with Sigma Supply, and you can schedule your waste audit analysis. Here's the number, 501-617-4600. Sigma Supply Packaging Products. If you're not using Sigma Supply, you got low-grade product, man.
For 100 years, Arkansas State Parks have offered endless outdoor adventures and treasured places to connect with nature, family, and friends. Whatever kind of outdoor fun you're into, you can find it at 52 parks around the state. Enjoy world-class mountain biking trails, scenic hikes, year-round fishing on sparkling lakes, and much more. It's time to get outside and celebrate a century. Find your next adventure today at ArkansasStateParks.com. Brought to you by this station and the Arkansas Broadcasters Association.
And ESPN Radio Extra Point with Emmett Golden.
I've actually seen a lot of people very understanding, and go, hey, man, don't punish the kids. Just give Jim Harbaugh a game or so, just a game or so. If this is true, right, this is lack of institutional control, right? Because if you, allegedly, if you had a staffer on your team, not just breaking rules and scouting, okay, yeah, that's a slap on the wrist thing. But if this gentleman was going
Connor Stallions.
Yes, Connor
I know
Stallions.
his name like he's my blood cousin.
If Connor Stallions was really on the sideline of other college football programs wearing recording devices to record Big Ten opponents' signs, to me, how can you not know that if you're Jim Harbaugh?
The all-new ESPN Radio Morning Show, Unsportsmanlike.
At what point are we going to acknowledge that Josh Allen is a great quarterback, but Josh Allen is also an overrated quarterback?
Chris Canty, Evan Cohen, and Michelle Smallman.
20 years running into guys that are my size. Does it sound like fun?
Chris, Evan, and Michelle.
Nobody can work the room like Coach Prime. And the people that like it are going to love it. People that hate it, they're going to hate him even more.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
Don't miss Provember at Lowe's. Save $80 on a DeWalt combo kit and save $20 on a 5-gallon pail of HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams all-purpose power primer. Plus, MVP's members earn 3 times the bonus points on DeWalt and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams products. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. While supplies last, selection varies by location. Bonus points calculated before tax and fees after applicable discounts if any. Valid through 11/22, subject to change.
Live from the Hoggs Meat Market Studios, this is Out of Bounds.
They're zoning defensively right now. Davenport in the key. Brazil with a one-hand dunk. He dunked that one over Jeremiah Gambrell. Gambrell 6'3", Brazil 6'10". That one was not fair. Blake with a rebound. Ahead to Arbogast. They couldn't get the shot away before the horn sounded. They tried to get it to the walk-on. That's it. Hawks take their season opener.
Yeah.
With John Nabors.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm going to say Arkansas.
And Joe Franklin.
We won't go in the shell. We won't go in attack mode because that's what's required.
On 103.7 The Buzz.
Way too petty once you let me do the extras. Pull up on your block and break it down. We playing Tetris. AM to the PM, PM to the AM funk. Eat up your per diem, you just gotta hate them funk. If I quit your BM, I still rock Mercedes funk. If I quit this season, I still be the greatest funk. My left stroke just went viral. Right stroke put a baby in a spiral. Soprano C, we like to keep it on the high note. It's levels to it, you and I know. Tell them be humble. Sit down. 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 Be humble.
1 hour down, 2 hours to go. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. John Nabors, Joe Franklin, broadcasting live from the Hoggs Meat Market Studios with you today. And thank you, as always, for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. It's been a great Trash Talk Thursday. But you know, there's a lot of things going on in the sports world, and it's hard to keep up with, but it's a lot of fun because college football is getting down to the nitty-gritty. Just a few weeks away from the season being over. It's kind of sad, but it's kind of true. You know, the Razorbacks are still fighting for a bowl. It's still funny to say, but yes, still fighting for a bowl game. Got a big one against Auburn, as well as some other big games happening in the SEC and in college football in general. So let's talk more about it as we go to the phone lines and welcome in Michael Bratton of That SEC Podcast, friend of the show. And it's been a while, Mike, but as always, appreciate you joining us, man. How you doing?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's always good to talk with you, and I know that, well, we'll get into some of the specific games going into this weekend and looking at the SEC in general, but looking at it right now, though, I see that last time we talked to you, we mentioned about who's the best teams or who could be able to maybe do some things and maybe upset some people, but it still looks like it's going to be Alabama and Georgia heading into the SEC title game. Do you see either of these teams losing another game the rest of the way until they meet each other in the SEC championship game?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think Georgia is vulnerable, but strangely enough, I still think they're a lot better than Alabama, but their path to Atlanta, not that the odds are against it by any means, but having to go to Tennessee next week and even this week, I think a lot of people are underrating just how big of a upset potential we have with Ole Miss riding into town, because Judkins, I think, is the best running back in the country. And they've really started to get him rolling there in Oxford. And if they have success against the Georgia Bulldogs, I mean, just put the team on his back. And I don't know. I really have a feeling like Ole Miss can go into Athens this weekend and pull off the upset.
If Ole Miss does find some advantages, their offense against that Georgia defense, where are those areas? You mentioned Judkins there. You know, that's kind of how Ole Miss goes by the running game, and they're good passing it. They can do a lot of different things, but if there's something they're trying to exploit with Georgia, what are they looking to do?
Well, I think the number one thing, Joe, is not even Judkins or any of the personnel, because Georgia just has better talent than Ole Miss. They have better talent than pretty much anybody short of Alabama. So at least SEC teams are talking about. But where Ole Miss can get a real advantage is that tempo. And Kirby, credit Kirby and Nick Saban, because those two, they don't have their team fake injuries like we've seen so many others do. I guess they're just more prideful, or they know they can stop it regardless. But I think that tempo, that's the great equalizer in a matchup like this. If Ole Miss can just get that initial first down, they go warp speed. You mentioned some of the receivers that they didn't have early in the season, like Trey Harris. He's top 5 in the SEC, and I think he's 6 or 7 in receiving yards, but he's top 5 in touchdowns. Priestcorn is a transfer tight end from Memphis. He was not available the first month of the season. He's been instrumental. Jackson Dart's got a lot of weapons to work with here in this offense. So I think the tempo is the great equalizer in this potential matchup.
So, Mike, I'm curious because there's a lot of different people that probably have a claim to it. But you mentioned a few teams that have done pretty well, and I know Ole Miss has done really well too. But if you were going to have an SEC Coach of the Year right now, if the season ended right now and you had a vote on it, who would be your SEC Coach of the Year at this point in time?
If I'm doing it right now, I'm giving it to Eli Drinkwitz. But I think that'll change because I'm not very confident that they're going to win out. And I'm not saying that just for your audience because obviously they still have to play Missouri and they get them at home, thankfully. But this Tennessee game is I'm really split on it. But even Florida next week, a team that's going to have its backs against the wall. I mean, these are all losable games from Missouri. So my answer would potentially change here in just a couple weeks. But I've always voted Coach of the Year based on who has exceeded expectations, and I don't think there's any doubt that he was on probably the hottest seat in the SEC. Even had his fans booing the team coming out against Kansas State. So a lot of these fans were over him. Now they want him to stay forever. That's just the way fandom works. But exceeding expectations, I think it's Missouri. I think it's Drinkwitz Coach of the Year right now.
It's also interesting, Mike, with the power rankings that you put out every week. You have Ole Miss at 2, so the matchup that is coming up with Georgia, Ole Miss, you have them ranked 1, 2 in your power rankings for this week, followed by Missouri at 3 and then Alabama at 4.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm still the only one still doubting Alabama. I get it. They're playing better and better every week, but I still think, if they didn't knock Jaden Daniels out of that game, they could have lost it. So, now, they've been dominant in the second half against the likes of Ole Miss, A&M, Tennessee, and obviously last week against LSU. But I also would argue that I don't think a truly elite team is getting down to all these teams because none of those teams I just mentioned, short of Ole Miss, which is playing better now than they were back then. They only scored 10 points in that game. That was the first game for Priestcorn. Junkins was hurt. Trey Harris didn't suit up in that game. There was a lot of things going against Ole Miss in that game. But, yeah, I think this is the matchup of the best two teams in the SEC right now, Ole Miss at Georgia.
Speaking with Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast here on Out of Bounds. Mike, a game that some people circled before the year started, and I kind of chuckled at it because it was mainly Kentucky fans and Kentucky media people, but Alabama's going on the road to Kentucky this weekend. Now, Kentucky's 6-3. They've lost some games they felt like they probably shouldn't have. And you mentioned about Alabama maybe being a little bit vulnerable, but is this a game at all that you think Kentucky has a chance in? Are you giving them any sort of legitimate shot to knock off the Alabama Crimson Tide this year and be the first SEC loss for the Tide?
No. And I know that makes for boring radio because I was among those people probably you were talking about, John, because I thought Kentucky could give them a game, but Kentucky is not lived up to the hype. Devin Leary, their quarterback, he is playing better than probably he's played all season, but it's a little too late for me. Kentucky can't run the ball, and when they can against teams like Florida, they whooped Florida because they ran all over them. But that's essentially the only game where they kind of ran wild against an SEC opponent. So I don't think they're going to have any success facing Alabama's defense. So I do wonder, Alabama, the last couple of years, they do struggle on the road. I think the SEC gave them a big favor by making this a noon road game. I think they gave Georgia a favor here by making it a night game. It's comical to me how the SEC seems to cater to a couple select few.
What do you think of the way that Jalen Milroe has played lately? Do you think that is a case of him getting better, or is it more about the coaches conforming to what he does best and just, making the best of the offense from what he can do?
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit of both. And he certainly is just taking his game to another level, but clearly they're utilizing him in ways that he's much more comfortable than they were earlier in the season when they were asking him to, sit back there and kind of pick apart defenses. They're really not doing that short of the Texas A&M game. He still seems to be about a one-read quarterback. He's got probably the best deep ball in the SEC. He's short of Jaden Daniels. He's probably the most dangerous running quarterback in the SEC at this moment as well. So I think it's a little bit of all the above. And if you want to talk about most improved player, at least from start to finish in the SEC, I think it has to be Jalen Milroe.
So, Mike, I got to ask you about Arkansas because, I mean, they beat Florida on the road last weekend and overtime, which ended up being a pretty entertaining game. Got their first SEC win and ended that SEC losing streak, or just streak in general. It was at 6 games. Dan Enos no longer the OC, but they ended up scoring quite a bit of points. Now they have Auburn coming to town, which Auburn's not a horrible team, but they're not a great team either. Do you think after that Florida game that Arkansas finally figured it out? Now they're gonna get rolling and they're gonna finish strong, or do you still need to see a little bit more of what they do against Auburn this weekend before you start believing in their turnaround?
Well, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I shared this. I saw online fans were wondering if KJ and Rocket can sue Dan Enos for affecting their draft stock. But I mean, they're joking, but that's a reality. Both those guys were hurt tremendously in that offense, and going back to a little bit more wide open approach, getting more hurry up, more of that tempo that I think KJ is so comfortable with. I think it gives Arkansas a real shot in this game, but it's very hard to read Auburn because I spent a lot of time watching them this week against Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, their last 2 opponents. And, yeah, they outclassed them, but I really think that says more about Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. They're just god-awful. Those are the 2 worst teams in the SEC right now. So I just don't know what to make of Auburn. And I'm still not a big fan of their quarterback, Peyton Thorne. Threw a really bad pick-6 last week inside the 5-yard line. That's inexcusable to Vanderbilt last week. So I do favor Arkansas, but I kind of need to see it at least one more because I don't think Florida is that great either. So, was last week a mirage? I don't think it was because it looked like the old KJ to me for the first time basically all season. So, I'm hopeful for Razorback fans that they can string this together because if they beat Auburn, they're going to beat FIU, and I give them an excellent shot to beat Missouri, even though Missouri's top 15 in the country right now.
For this game with Arkansas-Auburn, if Arkansas does what, they go on to win. If Auburn does what, they go on to win.
I think for Arkansas, it's all about shutting down Jarquez Hunter, Auburn's outstanding running back. He had something like 128 yards and 3 carries last week against Vanderbilt. Again, it's Vanderbilt. So, but he's a really dynamic player. I just told you, I don't have a ton of faith in Peyton Thorne. I don't have much faith in Auburn's receivers either. So they do have a very good defense. Got to corral that running game of Auburn. That's critical for Arkansas to have success against Auburn. And I think Auburn wins it if, we just go back to the same old ineffective offense. And I still can't get over they only scored 3 points against Mississippi State. If Arkansas reverts back to that and say they only, it's not going to be that bad, but let's say they only get 13, 14 points in this game, I think Auburn can steal one from them.
Speaking with Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast here on Out of Bounds. And, Mike, I kind of agree with you and just looking at this game too, but we know there's a history between these 2 teams where it's always been pretty wacky. Arkansas's only won twice in the past 10 years. One of them was when Brian Harsin was a lame duck coach. The other one was a quadruple overtime game back in 2015. They've had officiating gaps. You've had crazy endings. You've had come from behind victories. It just hasn't favored Arkansas that much. So just looking at the history of these 2 teams, when you think of an Arkansas and Auburn game, what's kind of the game or maybe the player or whatever? What stands out to you when you think about Arkansas and Auburn?
I mean, I hate to say it, but to me, the one that stands out is just that stupid backward spike. I mean, never in my life have I seen such a thing, and they didn't call it a fumble. I mean, I don't know how you can do that. There's obviously the Gus Malzahn saga and all of his connections to the state of the Arkansas. I mean, that stands out as well. But, at some point, you're right. They've had a lot of poor luck, if you want to call it that, against Auburn. And I believe before last season, Auburn had their longest streak in the entire series going into last season. But at some point, that's got to flip the other way. And And who knows, maybe Auburn is the better team on Saturday. You could easily talk me into that, but maybe a couple of those fluky things happen in Arkansas's favor. And like I said, I think those things tend to even out over time.
Getting towards the end of the season, we're starting to look at college football for projections with the playoff. So for the SEC, do you think it's more likely that the SEC gets 2 teams in or 0 teams in? What would be more likely?
Yeah, I hate to say it, Joe. I'm the biggest SEC guy, homer out there, but I think the answer is more likely 0. Now, I don't think that'll happen. I think it's almost guaranteed they'll get 1, but I just don't see any way that they get 2 in, because even if Georgia goes undefeated and they lose to Bama in the SEC championship, I think the committee's already said, they don't have the resume. They're not number 1 in the committee's ranking, and yeah, beating Ole Miss would be nice, beating Tennessee would be nice, but I just don't think they're going to put in Georgia if they are not undefeated. They're certainly not going to put in Alabama if they lose to Georgia in the SEC championship. And even Ole Miss, if they were to do the unthinkable and win in Athens and win out, I think that committee's got, they've done that to Alabama before. Alabama didn't even win the West. They put them in the playoff for some reason. But they tend to favor name brands, I feel like. And Ole Miss sitting there at 9, they'd probably climb up to 6 if they beat Georgia, maybe 5. But I just don't think they'd have it in them to put in an Ole Miss, not a name brand, into the top 4 that didn't win their division. Now, I don't think that's right, but I don't think they would put them in.
So, Mike, I'm also curious, too, about when we were talking about Arkansas and other teams in the SEC. Who would you say has been a bigger disappointment this year? Is it Arkansas or has it been South Carolina? Because both teams had some, I'd say, high expectations. Both teams felt like they were going to take steps forward and kind of build upon what they did last year. But neither team has really looked good and had their moments. So between those two teams, who would you say is the bigger disappointment so far?
I would probably say Arkansas, just because, all off season, when we talk about this team, the thing that I kind of harped on was, well, if they just have a competent defense, this could be a really good team. And I think they have a more than competent defense. I'm kind of stunned at the turnaround on that side of the ball, but clearly it's been the offense, and I'm still a big KJ fan. I don't think he was the problem, but with KJ, with Rocket, I know Rocket got hurt, but with Sam Pittman, a Sam Pittman coach team, you just never would assume that the offensive line was going to be as pathetic as it's been this season. With a competent defense, you could have convinced me this is a 9-win team. And, yeah, a couple breaks go here or there. I don't think they would have come close to being a 9-win team, but they're probably maybe a 6-win team already. They've not that I thought they were going to be world beaters by any means, but just kind of how we got to where we're at. I've just been really disappointed with Arkansas, and particularly that offense.
Now, because there are 3 games left, there's a lot to be worked out, Mike, but what do you think of the position that Coach Pittman is in as we get in this stretch run to end the season?
In terms of his job security?
Yes. What has to happen, whether, either way that you possibly could be thinking, what has to happen down the stretch here?
Yeah. Well, I think if he loses to Florida International, I think you got to fire him. And I hate to say that, because I'm assuming if he's losing to them, he's losing to all these teams. So, but I don't think that'll happen. I think they're going to beat Auburn. I think they'll beat FIU. And if they lose to Missouri, which is not a guarantee by any means, but I don't think you let him go. I think you bring him back because he's, here's the thing with Pittman. He's so dependent on nailing coordinator hires. And I thought he had the best coordinator duo in the SEC the last couple of years. And more often than not, they won a lot of big games. So they did a lot better than most people thought they would do. And clearly he made a huge mistake at the offensive coordinator position this year, and it bit him big time. And it may cost him his job, but I think with Travis Williams, that's another great hire he made. So given his track record, I think as long as he can fix this situation, maybe it's Kenny Guyon, I don't know, but whoever the next offensive coordinator, I think that's going to be the hire that determines Sam Pittman's fate there in Fayetteville. So I really think he's coming back unless they just lose out this regular season.
All right, Mike, I know you're an SEC guy, but I got to ask you, what do you think the end result ends up being from this Michigan thing and stealing signals and all that? Because I've gotten a kick out of it. It's gotten ridiculous, but what do you think ends up actually being the final result of all this?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's pretty wild. I don't even follow it, and yet I follow it because it's just everywhere. So it's impossible to avoid. But, you know, the thing that I think is kind of the most damning, John, is we've not heard Harbaugh deny any of this. And their defense seems to be everybody's doing it. Yeah, but not to the level to which Michigan was doing it. And even the staffer involved, the Stallions guy, I mean, he had to resign. Why did he have to resign if they were not doing anything they were not supposed to be doing? So I have no clue what the final result of this is going to be, but I think Harbaugh's time in Michigan is clearly coming to an end because it's just one thing after another. He's already been suspended. I mean, I think people forget that because of all this other stuff, but he was suspended to start the season. I think he's off to the NFL here in a couple of weeks, and I don't think they're going to make Michigan ineligible or anything like that, but Harbaugh's probably going to get suspended again. He may be the only coach ever that's been suspended twice in one season.
Should be a very entertaining regardless. Michael Bratton of That SEC Podcast. As always, Mike, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend, man. We'll catch up with you later down the road.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, appreciate it. We got more Out of Bounds on a Trash Talk Thursday coming up next, so stay with us.
Edgar Award-winning author and Arkansas native Eli Craner joins the zone every Tuesday courtesy of Jackalope Cycling. Jackalope Cycling in Russellville is there with bike rentals and service, camping gear, fishing accessories, whatever gets you excited about the outdoors. Eli Craner Tuesday in the Zone brought to you by Jackalope Cycling. Check them out online at jackalopecycling.com.
This is Sports Center.
Last night in the NBA, the Bucks beat the Pistons 120-118 despite Giannis Antetokounmpo being ejected midway through the third. Bobby Portis had a big night as he had 18 points and 5 rebounds off the bench. On the season, he's averaging 12 points and 5 rebounds in 20 minutes a game. The Grizzlies dropped to 1-7 on the season, losing to the Heat 108-102. The Grizzlies will face the Jazz on Friday. The Wizards beat the Hornets 132-116. Daniel Gafford had 5 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 13 minutes in that game. For the Hornets, Nick Smith Jr. played 4 minutes in the fourth quarter and had 5 points on 2 for 2 from the field. Tonight in the league, there will be a doubleheader on NBA TV. First up, the Pacers will host the Bucks at 6. Then at 8:30, the Hawks will take on the Magic. And in the NFL, Thursday Night Football will have the Bears taking on the Panthers at 7:15. I'm Christian Weaver with the Buzz Radio Network.
Fight fans, the UFC is back prime time this Saturday at Brewski's with UFC 295 at 9 p.m. We have 2 title fights, light heavyweight and heavyweight. In the main event, Yuri Prochaska takes on Alex Pereira. In the co-main is Sergey Pavlovich fights Tom Aspinall. Catch the fights in the bar and then head down to the basement with J.J. Wilson, the DJ, and watch all the action while the party gets started. Plenty of TVs in the Brewskitron VIP sections with bottle service is available. Hit us up at Brewski'sPubandGrub.com.
At Southern Floor Coating, coatings are all they do, and they won't be beat on price. Factory-trained installers using the purest form of polyurea with UV stability for all your outside projects. When you call, you'll talk with a professional interested in your project, not a voicemail. Don't trust a fly-by-night company that may not be in business next year. Transform your patio, porch, or pool deck and call the real pros at Southern Floor Coating. 501-402-4912 or take a look at southernfloorcoating.com.
Did you know Arch Marine is the kayak leader in Central Arkansas? Right now, get 20% off all feel-free kayaks. All the prices are falling on kayaks this month. Don't forget, we repair ATVs. Your granddaddy trusted Arch Marine, and so can you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Without a plan, the future is just what happens to you. In some ways, you can't have a future without a plan, because all you really have is what you're doing now and a hope that it all works out. Don't gamble your financial future on hope. Tune in to the Get Ready for the Future show for straight talk about retirement, investments, and your money. Saturdays at 10 a.m., now exclusively on 103.7 The Buzz. Genworth Financial Advisors is a registered investment advisor with securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC.
Mud Connections presents the Hog Wild pregame show with David Basil and Trey Schapp before each Arkansas Razorback football game 4 hours before kickoff. Hog Wild pregame show is brought to you in part by Rainwater Holton Sexton, Bud Light, and the Holiday Inn Express and Suites off Weddington and Fayetteville.
Have a watch party that everyone wants to attend at your house with the best of meats in the business. Hoggs Meat Market, the steak people. You're listening to Out of Bounds with John Nabors and Joe Franklin.
Coach, I asked you what the host of this party was going to be serving up today. What's the drink of choice tonight?
Well, you know, I'm not promoting it, but I like some old cold beer. I think I'm going to have one. I'm not promoting it now.
On 103.7 The Buzz.
Take the party wherever we
It's a great time to get to Twin Peaks for happy hour, 2 to 7. Later, happy hour, 10 to close. Enjoy all the food and drink specials that go along with it. Get a lunch combo starting as low as $7.99. If you want to take some food to go, you can order online, curbside, or to go. Courtesy of Postmates, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. Great drink specials during happy hour. Apps for $2, $4, and $6. Twin Peaks has plenty of seating inside now. Wall-to-wall TVs to see all the sports action. There's college basketball going on now. College football coming up this weekend. NFL tonight. You have the Bears and the Panthers. And there's combat sports always that are coming up this weekend. NBA, whatever it is, it's all at Twin Peaks. And coming up Saturday, it's Veterans Day. And so Saturday for lunch from 11 to 3, there's going to be a select menu of options that veterans can eat from for free. So get to Twin Peaks if you're a veteran and enjoy a meal for lunch at Twin Peaks on Veterans Day from the select menu. Also, UFC 295 coming up. And if you donate $5 to Twin Peaks, for every $5 that you donate to Tunnels to Towers through the month of November, you'll receive that money back that you'll be able to spend at Twin Peaks in the month of December. So it's going to a great cause for Veterans Day and thinking about the veterans this month with Veterans Day coming up on Saturday. It's all at Twin Peaks. It's Twin Peaks Eats, Drinks, Scenic Views.
Wherever we go.
It is Trash Talk Thursday here on Out of Bounds. Appreciate everybody listening in this afternoon, as I know we're going to have some fun with Andrew Ellis over a while, and a chance to talk with him in the 3 o'clock hour. But some other things that's going on that, I think it's funny. I know it's not, baseball season by any stretch for Razorback, but some people were having a field day because according to Kendall Rogers of D1Baseball.com, he had put out a list of who the SEC is going to be making as the permanent opponents for each and every team in baseball. So it's been, of course, with Oklahoma and Texas joining the conference, it kind of mixes it up a little bit and going to change some things. And there hasn't really been any permanent opponents in baseball before, but we know there's been divisions and whatnot. Well, it's actually beginning in 2025, I should say, not this next season, not 2024, 2025. So what's funny is that Arkansas, your permanent opponents, according to Kendall Rogers, you have Ole Miss, which is great. Makes sense. And then you also have Missouri, which I know Razorback fans are just kind of like, are you serious? Are you kidding me once again? Which I see, it depends on how you look at it. I look at it as Missouri's not a great baseball program, so you should be able to beat them more often than not, if not all the time. But some people are saying it should have been Arkansas, LSU. Should have been Arkansas and, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Florida, whatever, because you consider yourself to be a premier program, which you are. But I don't know. I look at it as it's about regional. It's about being in location. And, you're going to get, if you call them the Vanderbilt of baseball, kind of like what in football, I think it's great that Arkansas gets a little bit easier. I'll say easy, but easier a game and a matchup with getting Missouri instead of having to worry about some of these other teams too. But you're stuck with them at least.
Yeah. I mean, people always want the teams that stand out in whatever sport it is. LSU coming off a national championship in baseball, so wanted to match up there. But you're not all. They make these matchups for a reason. As far as permanent opponents, every team is not going to get what they want out of it. They can ask for preferences, but when it comes down to it, they do schedule it a certain way, and that's what we have here. You just have to embrace the Missouri rivalry, whether you want to look at it as a rivalry or not, because of the fact of proximity. That's what the conference thinks is best, to keep scheduling these two teams as permanent opponents.
Well, and I think it's funny, too, where, you talk about the rivalry, and they call it the battle line rivalry in football. It needs to be just called It Ain't No. That's what it needs to be, because both sides, it ain't no rivalry. Right? They make that the trophy. But this is a little bit different, and again, you're playing 10 total series, so you have 2 permanent ones that you're going to be playing, and that's it. Because even in basketball, you have 2, or I guess in that case 3. We'll see what it looks like once Texas and Oklahoma join and put that schedule out. But you have 3 permanent opponents that are rotating as far as home and away, and Missouri's one of those teams, and LSU's one of those teams, and A&M's one of those teams. Okay, those aren't premier basketball programs, but that's who you got, and nobody complains about it. And so I don't have any issues with this because, you're going to play Missouri a lot. Who cares? You're still going to get Ole Miss, and you're still going to get 8 other SEC opponents, which are going to be tough teams no matter what. But I will say that Texas A&M, man, if you could be not saying it'd be great for featured games, but Texas A&M, their 2 opponents are Texas and LSU. Those are their 2 permanent opponents each and every year. So could be a lot worse. You could have a lot of tough series like against those 2 teams, which are going to be in the national championship conversation every single year.
Well, from a fan standpoint, I think that's what people are welcoming. They want that because Arkansas, they hold them in such high regard and at a certain level. They want to play the best teams and get those series every year. It's just not happening, but they'll get their share of it whenever the schedule comes out year to year. You'll have some tough series, some good series, and nothing is guaranteed in baseball anyway. So it doesn't matter if you go into a series thinking this team isn't as good or they haven't been playing as well. You still have to go win the series.
Yeah, you got to take care of business. And again, you're still going to be having 8 other SEC series. Again, like who's to say that you won't be playing Texas and LSU in the same year, which you probably will many times. Like you'll still play them, but they're just because they're not your permanent opponents. I really don't care about that. It's like the same thing in basketball. Football, it matters a little bit more because there's only so many games that you have, but basketball and baseball, it's like, man, just go out there and you're going to, because basketball, you play everybody. That's the benefit. You get to play everybody in the SEC. But in baseball, still 10 series, and you only got 2 of them that are permanent, and one of them is one against Missouri, which you're like, oh, who cares? You're still going to play a lot of other great teams because almost every other team in the SEC is going to be a really great baseball program. So
with football, they're still trying to get that schedule worked out for the future, but they're trying to line it up where you do play more of the opponents on a more regular basis outside the permanent opponents, still getting everything worked out. But, you mentioned less games, but they are trying to get the schedule worked out where you do see teams more often than it just being put off for 4 to 5 years before you see that team come back on the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do because you got 16 teams now. And in baseball and in football, you can increase it maybe a little bit, but I still believe in basketball, and maybe this is why we haven't heard about the schedule, because it's funny, we got baseball, the schedule next year already, or at least it's been told, but Kendall Rogers, and then you have football already named as far as who's playing who in the SEC, but basketball is yet to come out, because I still think, Joe, that in basketball, they're weighing do we go to a 20-game SEC schedule, or do we stick with 18 and just have less, take away one permanent home and away opponent to be able to accommodate Texas and Oklahoma, so that way everyone still plays each other under the 18-game umbrella. Like, I still think that's what they're trying to figure out and decide in basketball, and that's why we haven't heard just yet.
Yeah, they're still getting it all worked out. But for Razorback fans, who do you want if it's one permanent opponent? We know the answer probably is Texas, but Texas and OU, they have a long-standing rivalry. And we think of it more so in football, but it happens in basketball for them also.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. In fact, Savage on our Southern Structural Solutions text line says he would have loved to have seen Arkansas play Texas and Tennessee as the teams for Arkansas basketball. I think he meant baseball. Yeah, there you go. Baseball. Yeah, he said he wanted to play them, which I get. But here's the thing, too, Savage, and I'm not like saying you're wrong because I would love to see it, but I don't think Tony Vitello is going to be at Tennessee forever. And so when they move on, like, who's to say that Tennessee will even still be a relevant program at that point? I mean, I still have my druthers, and I still have been saying that I think Tony Vitello is going to be the next Razorback coach once Dave Van Horn steps down. Like, that's my opinion. Maybe some of you may not like that, but that's what I believe. So if he left, it doesn't really add anything to the Tennessee vibe. Like, the Ole Miss one, though, I think everyone can be on board in saying that the Ole Miss baseball series has to stay because those series have always been wacky, pretty much in every sport besides maybe basketball. Football and baseball, for sure, Ole Miss and Arkansas games have always been pretty wacky. But, again, you're not always going to get what you want, and not everybody's just going to come and accommodate because I think it's a lot about geography, too. Missouri's just up there. It's a little bit closer, and it makes a little bit more sense. And, you know, it's just what you're going to have to deal with. You're going to be playing Missouri in every sport, every single year, and they're going to be your permanent opponent. And I think you just got to accept it at this point in time because it's not going to be changing anytime soon.
Basketball may be getting a little more interesting when it comes to Ole Miss, first of all, because of who their coach is, and we know that he's a proven winner in Chris Beard, but also the angle that Chris Beard once coached in the state of Arkansas. So that could be a little more interesting on the basketball court.
Yeah. Sometimes I keep forgetting that he's there, but he's going to have a team that's, I think, an NCAA tournament worthy team this year. I really do. Are they going to go to the Final Four? I don't know, but the dude can coach. He may have some issues off the court, as we know, but the dude can coach. And so who knows? Maybe that's where he lays it down. And because I would have never thought that, I'm trying to compare it all to it, but I would have never thought that Bruce Pearl would have stayed at Auburn as long as he did. Because I'm like, oh, man, it's Auburn basketball. If he may get a better job, but he's still there. So who knows? Maybe Chris Beard, if Ole Miss puts a lot of emphasis on and puts some money into it, maybe he can find a long stay there in Oxford and kind of be the Bruce Pearl, if you will, of the Ole Miss Rebels for a long period of time. Maybe he likes that.
Coaches don't have to move like they once did and take what is considered a premier job because we know that the money is plentiful, and as long as you win, the place that you're winning, they're going to take care of you because they want you to stick around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you get to the winning part, they will always come around. They will always support you, and they will always give you what you need from the get-go. So we'll see. But either way, Arkansas baseball, you're going to be playing Missouri every year. You're going to be playing Ole Miss every year, and you're going to have 8 really great other SEC series. Get over it. It'll be fine. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get to more on Trash Talk Thursday. We'll have your Razor Hog update. I also want to bring up this story with Peyton Hillis, which is a pretty wild one, dealing with Josh McDaniels, if you can believe it. And we'll keep it moving here on Out of Bounds, so stay with us.
Football fans, tailgate season is here, which means it's time to score touchdowns and savings for your vehicle. At All About Tire and Brake Tire Pros, we offer incredible deals and service like your daddy used to get, with the financing options that fit your budget. With our team by your side, you'll get MVP service along with the traction and confidence you need to stay on the road. Visit us online today at allabouttireandbrake.com. All About Tire and Brake Tire Pros. Love the drive.
Jackalope Cycling is passionate about the Arkansas outdoors. To help you enjoy this beautiful state, Jackalope offers an array of bike rentals to get you on the trails.
What about fly fishing from a bicycle?
You can't do that, but Jackalope also offers fly rods, reels, waders, fly fishing accessories, outdoor and camping gear.
Yeah, it'll be tough riding a bicycle and waders.
But you can still enjoy the Arkansas outdoors with Jackalope Cycling in Russellville or jackalopecycling.com.
Hey, did you know the Statue of Liberty is the largest holiday gift ever given?
That's a big deal, just like those at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Hey, did you know when the year ends, so do the deals? It's your journey. Own every mile at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Get 0% APR for 60 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days, or get up to $2,500 bonus cash on the Hyundai Tucson. Now for a limited time, only during the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Offers end November 30th. Call 469-613-0227 for details.
This is the Pigskin Preacher, bringing you the word. With the addition of Oregon and Washington, the Big Ten seems well on its way to becoming the Big 20 or 24. So much for math. A lot of fans are unhappy with this new conference arms race, but others are happy that it should result in better matchups than Western Michigan, Samford, Bowling Green, and Tennessee Martin being on the docket. Regardless of what fans think, it's coming. And the reason is simple: money. As a great rap song from the 80s told us, they did it for the MONEY. Yes, they did. Doublebee's is the place where your MONEY will go farther. Watch for Doublebee specials each month, in addition to the already low prices. Doublebee's. It's where you gas it, grab it, and go. That's Doublebee's.
It's Justin Acri for Coffin by Design West. Shop with the local folks and get exactly what you want. You can also shop from the convenience of your own home by going to kaufmanlumber.com. There's an online store with over 800,000 items in inventory that can be delivered straight to your front door. Items in inventory include everything from hardware to housewares, heating and cooling supplies, lawn and garden tools, sporting goods, store and office supplies, and there's a huge range of products in each area available. So go by their store in West Little Rock at 14900 Cantrell Road, or do your shopping online at kaufmanlumber.com.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Wes Moore. The weekend is almost here, and we'll get you set Friday in the Zone. We got Arkansas and Gardner Webb at Bud Walton Arena Friday night, plus the women play Friday morning. And we'll have Clint Sterner talking Arkansas-Auburn, a preview of the SEC game, plus some NFL talk at 10:30. Eat My Catfish will be in the studio, Philip Martin, and we'll pay tribute to our veterans. Join us Friday in the Zone. It's where sports and entertainment come crashing together.
Hi, I'm Hunter Bell from Bell Chevrolet. Football season in Arkansas is one of my favorite times of the year. And I think we can all agree that game days are better with tailgating. Fourth quarters are better with game-winning field goals. And the best played games are better with teamwork. And just like on the field, Bell Chevrolet is better because of our people and their dedication to our customers. Shop Bell Chevrolet and BellChevrolet.com today. Find new roads.
Want to voice your opinion so you don't have to hear the same terrible callers every day?
Are you behind on your credit card bills? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Is your landlord ready to evict you? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Does your girlfriend think you're a worthless loser? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing.
Then call or text 501-661-1037 to help the cause. You're listening to Out of Bounds with John Nabors and Joe Franklin.
Out across the 20 to the 25 to the 30. Satania trying to get to midfield. He's across the 50. He's got a chance to go. Isaiah at the 20, the 10. Touchdown, Arkansas. A 53-yard punt, an 87-yard return, and there you have it.
On 103.7 The Buzz.
Give me something. Cigarette just so I can breathe.
Bet Saracen is Arkansas's favorite sports betting app. Bet Saracen is as close to your cell phone. Just go to the App Store and download the Bet Saracen app or go to betsaracen.com. Arkansas taking on Auburn. Arkansas is a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is 47.5. And according to Bet Saracen, the boost bets for Auburn at Arkansas, it's Arkansas minus 2.5 and over 48.5. So if both those hit and you take that wager, it's plus 260. So that's a good boost bet there. Also some double R prop bets. Isaac Tesla over 3.5 receptions and over 27.5 yards receiving. Rocket Sanders over 69.5 yards rushing and over 0.5 rushing touchdowns. So essentially get 70 yards for a Rocket and then 1 touchdown. That's plus 100. And the Isaac Tesla wager is plus 175. You can get those wagers on Bet Saracen. You get in-game prop bets, specials. Talked about the double R props. Wager on any kind of sport that you want, combat sports, boxing, MMA. There's baseball. That's not going on right now, but basketball, football, whether it's college, NFL, NHL, everything there on Bet Saracen. For the most accurate and up-to-date sports wagering info, you need to be on the Bet Saracen app. It's simple. Just go to the App Store and download the Bet Saracen app or go to BetSaracen.com. Be sure to check out the video of how to play featuring Jancy Sheets.
It is a Trash Talk Thursday here on Out of Bounds. Appreciate everybody listening in this afternoon, and I know we'll have a Razor Hog update later as well. But we have Tim, who's in Jacksonville, who's been patiently holding on the air. What's going on, Tim?
Hey, what's going on, John? What's going on, Joe?
Hey, Tim.
What's up, man?
Hey, man. I know you guys are talking about baseball and permanent opponents and whatnot, but, man, I actually call to kind of trash this whole manufactured Missouri rivalry. You know, I know, the Hogs had those old rivalries, those old classic games with Texas Tech and the Southwest Conference. And as of late, as far as the SEC, we've had some classic games with LSU. But if you ask a UT fan who their rival is, they'll say Oklahoma. And LSU won't even claim us as a close rival at all. But who is Arkansas's real rival? What do you guys feel? What do you think? Man, I'll hang up and listen.
Appreciate it, Tim. I mean, we've had this discussion a lot of times. And I think that you could make it vary between sports. But honestly, I don't think Arkansas, if you're talking about like a legitimate true rivalry where the other team hates Arkansas as much as Arkansas hates the other team, I don't think they have one. And that's okay. They don't have to have a rivalry. I mean, it's fun to be a part of if you can make it work, but I feel like that you just hate everyone equally because there's not going to be anything there. You could say it might be Missouri. Some of you may feel that way more so now, but I mean, Missouri doesn't really claim it, and neither does Arkansas. So I don't know, Joe. I'm just like, it's nobody claims it, nobody wants it, but at the same time, you don't have a rivalry, and that's okay. I feel like it's okay if you don't.
As a Razorback fan, if you have to choose one, who's going to be your rival in years to come? Is it going to be Missouri, or is it going to be Arkansas State? How about that?
Oh gosh.
Now, which one are you going with?
Man, if that's the case, you want to stick with rival. I would stick, at least for me, with the SEC team in Missouri, at least, because that's that. And I'm not trying to like look down on anything. It's just a matter of like you want to be able to have it at the end of the year and against a Power 5 team, and if you want to be at that point. But I mean, I think you're just going to be with Missouri no matter what. So you might as well just say, hey, you don't. It's like going to a dance in high school. And everybody's got a dance partner, and you've been left out, and you look over across the way, and there's a girl over there that, you may not think that is the prettiest girl there, may not be the best looking, the best dancer or anything, but you're like, well, I want to dance, so I guess it's just going to be me and you. Like you just gotta go for it. Go in
and Missouri is in a similar situation where their biggest rival, the school that they hate the most, they're not in the same conference anymore, and so they don't play on a regular basis, but that's always the school that they're going to look at in Kansas as their biggest rival, and they're a border state also. But the fact that you're in the same conference, it just makes sense for Arkansas and Missouri.
Yep, and that's the way it's going to be. And again, you just you either embrace it or you just complain about it. And I don't like it either, but it's the way it is. It's just the way it is. And it could be a lot worse. I would rather here's the thing: would you rather have a rivalry game, quote? Rivalry game, play a game at the end of the season that you would go up against a team where odds are you won't beat them very often? Or do you want to go up against a team that you feel like you should beat more so than not? Like, I know Missouri's had your number, but I feel like that if it's between that or LSU, the LSU game may be a little bit more fun, but I feel like you're going to, more often than not, you're going to have a better chance of beating Missouri than you would LSU on any given day.
If there's a choice for Razorback fans, they're going to take LSU all day, every day, because people are still talking about that game needs to be at the end of the season, but we just know with some of the changes within the conference, it's not happening.
Yeah, because those youth are getting any type of hope that, when Texas and Oklahoma join, maybe that'll mix up the games at the end of the year. No, what's going to happen is that they're going to have Texas A&M and Texas play each other at the end of the year. And then since LSU and A&M played each other, they're going to have LSU and Oklahoma play each other at the end of the year. And that's settled. That's what's going to happen because Bedlam, I guess, is not going to happen anymore. And I know that wasn't even usually the last day thing anyways, but that they're going to have LSU and Oklahoma play each other at the end of the year. And you're still going to get Missouri. That's just the way it is. So
it could be wishful thinking with some fans. They're like, well, give Arkansas, LSU, and then Missouri and Oklahoma, they can match up because they're close in proximity too.
Hey, listen, if they did that, I would be tickled as a clam. Like I would be so happy because it just I would
go back
it.
to the Big 12 together.
just ship them off completely. Have them there. But I just want to win games at this point in football. I don't care who it's against. I don't care when the day is. I just want to win games, and you haven't won very many. So just get back onto that and start winning those games a lot more. But even so, on our Southern Structural Solutions text line, did have a few people like Josh in Greenbrier says, no one considers the Razorback football team good enough to be rivals. I think there's a little truth to that. And also from 501 says, true rivalry for Arkansas is actually based on sport. He says that in basketball, it's Kentucky. In baseball, it's Tennessee. In football, it's not there. So
in baseball, is it Tennessee or is it Ole Miss? Now, Tennessee has been good recently, but traditionally, is it Ole Miss or is it Tennessee?
I would think it would be more so Ole Miss. Tennessee's just more recent because of Vitello and that whole thing. But I think it's more Ole Miss if you're talking about a true rivalry in baseball because you've had some wacky games, some iconic games, moments, and it's also happened in postseason too, where you've played them in a regional, you've played them in super regionals. So I would say Ole Miss, but it seems like right now people are the Tennessee for the coaching matchups. But hey, listen, it doesn't matter. Just go and win. Just go win the games. Have some fun with it too, but go win the games. We are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk with Andrew Ellis of HogSports.com because he's a guy who knows a lot about the Razorbacks, but also we're going to get his thoughts because he's a baseball guy. What does he think about Arkansas and Missouri and Ole Miss, or Arkansas having Missouri and Ole Miss as their permanent opponents? Does he like it? Does he hate it? Does it matter? We'll talk to him about that and a lot more coming up next on Trash Talk Thursday here on Out of Bounds, so stay with us.
Roger Scott, I'm going to talk to you about Sigma Supply Packaging Products and how they think outside the box. Sigma Supply, the problem solvers. Now, they've been helping business owners for years with their waste audit analysis program. They're going to come in, they're going to analyze your packaging and shipping and see if automation is what you need to cut costs. Call or text sales manager David Breitenberg with Sigma Supply, and you can schedule your waste audit analysis. Here's the number, 501-617-4600. Sigma Supply Packaging Products. If you're not using Sigma Supply, you got low-grade product, man.
Double B's presents Joseph Pinion when he joins Randy and Rick each week on Drive Time Sports. Double B's is an Arkansas company with over 34 locations and growing strong across Arkansas. Double B's, where you gas it, grab it, and go. That's Double B's.
A great Thursday edition of Morning Mayhem is in the books. Want to thank all of our guests, R.J. Hawk, Joe Klein, Darren McFadden, Melinda Mayo, for coming on the show and stopping by. Also want to thank Alcoa Community Federal Credit Union in Sheridan for hosting the guys today. Morning Mayhem will be back on Friday. Roger and Baz break down all things football. Also, it's Big Man Friday. Mark May, Dan Hampton, and Landon Jackson all coming up 6 to 10 a.m. right here on 103.7 The Buzz.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Don't worry, we don't understand ourselves either. 103.7 The Buzz. Buzz News with Channel 7's Cassandra Webb.
A Dover man is behind bars and facing drug charges after police say he led them on a high-speed chase. Pope County Sheriff's deputies first engaged Joe Morris when they spotted him driving his SUV recklessly in the northern part of the county. But when they tried to pull him over, they say the 62-year-old sped off. During the pursuit, he led police onto an ATV trail where his own car became disabled. Deputies searched his car and say they found drugs. Morris is now being held in the Pope County Jail. In Bentonville, 20 20-year-old rapper Reese Sullivan was arrested last Thursday on a charge of terroristic threatening. In addition to his lyrics about killing the president, he also talked about shooting up schools, bombing churches, killing and abusing children, and even killing his own grandmother. Sullivan maintains that none of the threats were literal and that he was rapping in a fictional persona to be funny. He's due to appear in court in December. For more news and weather, download our free KATV News and Weather apps. From the Channel 7 Newsroom, I'm Cassandra Webb.
103.7 The Buzz is your home for Arkansas Razorback basketball. Coverage is brought to you by Crane Hyundai of Conway, Blackman Auctions, Bell Chevrolet, and Arkansas Scholarship Lottery.
Weather from the Fletcher Weather Center with Channel 7 meteorologist James Bryant.
Pack a rain jacket or umbrella for the rain today. There's a 100% chance of rain, especially gets going as you get into the afternoon and overnight hours. We could see 1-inch rainfall amounts for the metro area. We'll also see breezy conditions with wind gusts as high as 20 miles per hour. From the Channel 7 Weather Center, I'm James Bryant.
Buy one, get one free at the Riverfront Steakhouse. This Thursday night, we're going to have prime rib, 12-ounce prime rib served with our great mashed potatoes. Buy one, get one free.
Clint Sterner joins Justin and Wes in the zone, courtesy of Chris Crane Hyundai of Conway. Shop Chris Crane Hyundai's selection of new and pre-owned vehicles online at chriscranehyundai.com. It's Clint Sterner in the zone each week, brought to you by Chris Crane Hyundai of Conway on your fun and game station 103.7 The Buzz.
If you're looking for the best deal on a pre-owned vehicle, you'll find it here in Hot Springs on Central Avenue at Motorsports Authority, here with Wild Bill and Magic Mark. These are some fantastic
Main Street exit, right on Main, left on Bailey to our front door, 1301 TPY Drive. Call 501-982-2102, WatneyChevrolet.com. Chevrolet, find new roads.
Our care clinics are your hometown source for primary medical care. Our doctors, nurses, and counselors can help patients of all ages with anything from common colds and immunizations to depression, anxiety, and chronic diseases. Our network includes both mail order and local pharmacies to fulfill your prescriptions. If you don't have insurance, it's okay. We can help with that too. And no one is turned away. With more than 65 locations in Arkansas, there's a good chance we're in your hometown. Look us up at ourcare.net.
Right this way. Welcome to the $1 Million VIP Club, an all-new VIP scratch-off ticket from the Arkansas Scholarship Lottery. It's for very important players and is hiding some very impressive prizes, like a top prize of $1 million and more than $42 million in total prizes. Be a VIP today. Ask for the new $1 Million VIP Club Scratcher. You could play, scratch, and win $1 million. Call 1-800-522-4700 for Problem Gambling Helpline.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-294-0222. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-294-0222. 0222. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-294-0222. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for in partnership with Cars R Us and Find the Children.
Live from the Hoggs Meat Market Studios, this is Out of Bounds.
They're zoning defensively right now. Davenport in the key. Brazil with a one-hand dunk. He dunked that one over Jeremiah Gambrell. Gambrell 6'3", Brazil 6'10". That one was not fair. Blake with a rebound. Ahead to Arbogast. They couldn't get the shot away before the horn sounded. They tried to get it to the walk-on. That's it. Hawks take their season opener.
Yeah.
With John Nabors.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm going to say Arkansas.
And Joe Franklin.
We won't go in the shell. We won't go in attack mode because that's what's required.
On 103.7 The Buzz.
I get way too busy once you let me do the extras. Pull up on your block and break it down, we playing Tetris. AM to the PM, PM to the AM phone. Eat up your per diem, you just gotta hate them phone. If I quit your BM, I still rock Mercedes phone. If I quit this season, I still be the greatest funk. My left stroke just went viral. Right stroke put a baby in a spiral. Soprano C, we like to keep it on the high note. It's levels to it, you and I know. Tell them be humble.
2 hours down, 1 hour to go. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. John Nabors, Joe Franklin, broadcasting live from the Hoggs Meat Market Studios with you today. And thank you as always for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. It's been a great Trash Talk Thursday today. There's a lot of things happening in the sports scene, especially when you got, my goodness, football, basketball going on in full swing. And we know Razorback basketball is going to be tipping off against Gardner-Webb tomorrow night at Bud Walton Arena. Got Razorback football 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Razorback Stadium on Saturday. So it's just been a very busy weekend. It will be a busy weekend. I can't wait to see all of it. But we're going to talk about a little bit of the baseball conversation we had earlier with Arkansas getting permanent opponents of Ole Miss and Missouri, just like I'm sure everybody wanted. As we go to the phone lines and welcome in Andrew Ellis of hogsports.com, friend of the show, joins us now. And Andrew, as always, man, appreciate it. How you doing this afternoon?
But I've enjoyed watching Arkansas fans really be upset about this baseball thing.
So in that case, what do you make of it? Because we were talking about it where it's like I can see fans wanted, LSU or wanted somebody else, but I don't know. I kind of look at it as it's a team that you should beat more often than not, and it's just a team that you're going to get stuck with in all the major sports, so you just got to embrace it.
I agree with what you're saying 100%. Like, that was kind of one of my first reactions was I was like, I feel like that could be huge for Arkansas in terms of division title races. You come down to, 1 or 2 games here. If you have like a sweep over Missouri, hypothetically, in a lot of years, I feel like that's not a, we talk about it all the time with teams in the East in football where it's like, oh, well, their record's a little bit different, because I think that's an advantage. But, in baseball, in SEC series, I don't think it's a huge deal. My thing is, John, I'm like, do people not realize that it's like almost 100% based on geography? Like, if you look at literally every team, it's just schools that are right there. And I know that Oklahoma is, I think, technically closer than Missouri and definitely closer than Ole Miss. But it's like, it's almost everybody. It's just they pick schools close to them. So it's like, do people think there's like some weird conspiracy theory going on, or like they're trying to force feed us an Arkansas-Missouri rivalry? Like, you look at literally every team, like it's based on geography, and Missouri's in a weird enough location where it's like they only had like 3 reasonable options, and Arkansas happened to be one of them. Like, I don't understand why everyone's like so. I literally texted our good friend Andrew Hutchinson, and I was like, dude, you realize like what's going on? Like, it's not like this. He was calling for the SEC to like redo the whole scheduling format. He's like, hey, they need to change this. I'm just like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, is it really that big of a deal?
So what do you think that comes from, though, Andrew? You think it's just that the fans, they want to see Arkansas go against the best teams, or do they just want to feel like, there's a sense of you're not feeling superior because there's some kind of superiority complex towards Missouri, which it shouldn't be, especially in football. But that's just kind of how fans feel about the so-called rivalry with Arkansas and Missouri.
I think you nailed it right there. Like, I think that fans, they're right on all those points that, like, Arkansas is a substantially better program. Like, if there were a sport you could feel that superiority, maybe it's baseball. And so, maybe it's like Arkansas, they feel it's beneath them. And to be fair, like, those series up in Como in mid-March are never fun. I mean, it's like 45 degrees, the wind's blowing like 22 miles an hour. Like, it's just a bad product. So maybe people just have those memories and it really upsets them. And I understand all of that. But I just, it's like, I wasn't as offended by it. I just was like, okay, Missouri has to have, two of these teams be their permanent opponent. Arkansas is right there. It made 100% sense to me. But yeah, I think it all comes down to the fact that people just really don't want to embrace Missouri as a rival, which, they're entitled to do that. That's perfectly fine. I just don't think that this is the place to voice those grievances. I just didn't think that them doing this geographically really was that, harsh of a thing to do.
So thinking about baseball, we see that those are the permanent opponents, but we don't expect any sort of changes other than that, right? Like they're still going to stick with 10 SEC series and still keep with that whole format. And, as far as other teams go, is it going to be a constant rotation? Just what's the format going to look like going forward in SEC baseball?
Well, it's not going to be, there's no divisions anymore. So that's really the biggest notable difference, which with 16 teams, like, I don't think the divisions are that big of a deal anyway, especially in a sport like baseball where there's not a conference title game. Our SEC basketball hasn't had that for a while. So that's probably the biggest change, that it's going to be a single division format. And, the rotation stuff kind of is all over my head of how they're going to really assess this. I just assume that it'll be a weird rotation. What I don't get is, if there's 15 possible opponents in 10 weekends, why don't you just play everybody twice every 3 years? Wouldn't that make sense? I don't know if I guess we're too late to have this conversation, but yeah, the format, I think it's still going to be the same, like 10 regular season SEC series per conference. It'll be a rotation. Instead of just having your division be your rotation, it's just these two permanent opponents because there is no division. But like I said, the division is not really a huge deal for me because there's no conference title game.
So also thinking about it from the perspective of, moving forward and like who it could have been or who it should have been, I still feel like with 8 other SEC series games, it's still going to be facing off against a lot of the other opponents. You're still going to go up against Texas. You're still going to go up against LSU. You're still going to be going up against them. But when you talk about divisions, do you think that baseball should stick with divisions? I know this has been an argument. Basketball's done away with them for years now. Football, people think that it's going to be going away, and it looks like it's going away. And baseball, kind of the same thing. Like, do you feel like there still should be divisions in the SEC in sports, or do you feel like they should just all be done away with?
Hey, I don't feel strongly one way or the other. The thing I think about is, like, football is the only sport where, like, I really kind of like the divisions because you have a direct, there's such a big reward that comes with winning your division in terms of, like, getting an SEC title game appearance. Obviously with basketball, there's a title game, but it's not based on that. It's just a tournament. So it's like if you're doing a tournament format at the end of the season, I don't understand what the purpose of the division is other than just separating the teams geographically, which they've, done to an extent. But it's like at this point, it doesn't really make a ton of sense anyway there. And it's going to get muddy, especially when you look at other conferences that are starting to have teams come from all across the country. So it's like, I think the divisions are, like you said, they're probably going to get phased out. And I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I'm definitely not going to lose sleep over it or anything, especially in sports like basketball and baseball.
Andrew, what is it you like about divisions in football, and could you see that working? It's not likely that they're going to do it as we're talking about, but could you see it working with so many teams in a conference when we're talking about the SEC at 20 and then Big Ten, they have even more teams? Could you see it working with the number of teams that are going to be within these conferences?
Yeah, the only thing I really loved about the division, when I say loved, like I wasn't like riding hard for it. I like that, you have your conference title game and you have the guys coming from each division. I thought that format was just kind of simple and basic enough. But with the increasing number of teams, if it gets to a point where it's like you're really only playing the teams in your division and you don't have any of those, because back in the day it was like 2-3 crossover games of the East. And so it was a little bit easier to, the division, the discrepancy in the divisions in terms of quality of teams wasn't as big of a deal because you were playing enough of them. But if you're having a division with 9, 10 teams, and if we keep expanding all these conferences, then it probably doesn't make sense because then it kind of forces your conference schedule. There's not enough games. You have to play your division, and that's it. And so I think with football, with how many teams there are, it probably makes sense. And just with, geographically, there's always been a little bit of a discrepancy in terms of the West and the East, most years at least. I know that some years like this, it's not as big of a deal, but I think it just is probably at the point. And I think, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I think the SEC is going to, at one point, just be more like the NFL, where it's like we just view it through that lens of like, this is the league, and there's another league in the Midwest, and that's the Big Ten, and there's another league here. I think it's going to end up being that dramatic where these are that big. And at that point, maybe you do divisions and it's like 4 or 5 of them. I don't know, but I think that I'll let people smarter than me figure out these things. I'm just literally spitballing here. So
we're speaking with Andrew Ellis of hogsports.com here on Out of Bounds. So Andrew, kind of shifting gears a little bit, Razorback basketball and football both going down this weekend. And the basketball team, we'll start with them since they're happening tomorrow night against Gardner-Webb. After game 1, going into this game against Gardner-Webb, more so about the opponent. I know Arkansas is going to be a good team, but what do you make of the opponent of Gardner-Webb? Is this going to be more of the same of what we saw against Alcorn State? And also, what do you think the type of lineup that Muss is going to throw out there? Because it seems like he's still trying to figure some things out.
Yeah, I think this schedule kind of works out perfectly where I think this is a minuscule step up. It's not going to be a team that they're just going to run over. Like, I don't think they're going to be as bad as Alcorn State is what I'm saying there. But I think next week, whenever Arkansas is going to end up having to play Greensboro, I think that's another natural step up from Gardner-Webb. So it's like, I think the spread was, I think the last I checked, the spread was around 19.5, 20 in some books for this game. And I think that's about right. I mean, it started at Beth Saracen at like 24.5, but in most books, the Alcorn State game was more around 28. And so I think the point spread there kind of tells the story. It's a step up in competition, but it's like, you're still looking at that like BPI, like 150 range strength. It's not like one of those that's going to really affect your schedule that much. And so it's kind of one of those, just come in, take care of business at Bud Walton Arena, which Arkansas has done literally every single time under Eric Musselman. So, but in terms of lineup, I'm really interested to see what they do at the 5 because, last year Mekhi Mitchell starts 31 games and you just kind of assume he's going to be a huge part of the big man rotation this year, but we really haven't seen a ton of him. He's been coming off that foot injury and, hasn't looked great these last couple outings. So we've seen Chandler Lawson really emerge. He's gotten the start, but, Jalen Graham was the one who got more of the run at the 5. And so I'm really interested to see, like, who emerges from that big man rotation because it doesn't seem like there's a ton of separation between all those guys. And then you can kind of throw a bait ball in there if you want to. But I'm really looking forward to see who emerges from that big man rotation. With these guards, we kind of know what we're getting with most of these guys other than maybe Layden Blocker and maybe Joseph Pinion to see if he's taking a step. But I think all the questions for me are kind of around these big men for these next few games.
So would you say that that's the strength of the team right now, the backcourt? And then just as far as playing style, what do you think is the strength of the team?
Well, with Musselman, I feel like he has a trend. He has almost a type that he likes. And it's like those guys that are in that 6'3" to 6'8" range who are interchangeable positionally, can guard multiple positions, can score, can stretch the floor, and kind of just really hyper athletic guys. And it seems like every year Arkansas has like 4 of those dudes, whether it's Council, Blacksmith, or whoever. And, like this year with guys like Caleb Battle and Tremont Mark, and you throw Devo in there. Like, I just really like the versatility they have with some of those shooters. And there's just so much scoring ability on the floor at all times. I mean, Trevin Brazil's I mentioned him. He's above that little range I mentioned earlier, but I think he's such a huge piece. So just, you kind of know what you have with those 1 through 4. They don't have really I wouldn't say a true point guard, but even with guys like Devo and Ellis, even if they're not true point guards, you're getting some playmaking ability. And, obviously we've seen Mark and Battle do that. So, yeah, I think that there's a little bit less to figure out amongst it. Like, you can argue who's going to start and who's going to play at what times, but we at least know what the rotation is going to look like more with the backcourt. And the front court, I mean, the other day was the first time I started to really consider, could Mekhi Mitchell not be in their rotation? Could he just be getting DNP coaches' decisions? But I think it's because you've seen those other big men emerge. And so I guess the next few games we'll see if that emergency is legitimate and if we see some signs of life from Mekhi.
So I want to ask you this, too, because the 2 freshmen that people have always been, very fond of, or at least that are on the Razorback team, is Bay Fall and Layden Blocker. Between the 2, we've seen both of them come in and play some minutes, and both of them commit a lot of fouls, at least in the game earlier this week. But between those 2, who do you think, do you think they start getting more playing time? Do you think either of them will be contributors to this team, or as time goes on, you think that they'll just kind of be put to the side a little bit just because of the fact that they just got so many guys that are in front of them right now?
I think this rotation is going to trim down so much. I think when you really get down to it, when it comes down to March, it's really going to be 8, maximum 9 guys. Even the guys who play a decent amount throughout the season. I mean, we've even seen guys like Desi Stills get to March where he's playing a ton during the regular season and it doesn't really work out. So I think it's tough to view everything. Everyone wants to talk about who's going to be on the floor when the game ends and who's going to be your guys that you trust in March. But it's there's a lot of games in between now and then. So I do think we'll see plenty of those guys like Blocker and Fall. Blocker specifically, I think his defense is going to be one. He looks bigger and, athletically definitely matches up well. When I was watching him in that Purdue game, I would say he looked a little bit ahead of schedule from what I really expected from him. And so I really like, he had a little bit of a tough debut, found out in 10 minutes, but I really like what he brings athletically and as a defender. And I mean, you think back to when Devo Davis was a freshman, I don't think any of us were really penciling him in for a specific role or what he was going to do. And he ended up being as important as pretty much anyone on the team as a freshman. So it's I'm not saying Layden Blocker is going to do that, but I just don't want to close the book on any of those guys. And, I've mentioned the question marks with Arkansas's front court and how we don't really know what's going on there. So it's I can't rule Bay Fall out at all. I mean, I know he's still got a lot of developing to do. I think he's going to be a guy that looks night and day different maybe this time next year when he's been in the system for a while if he sticks around. So, I'm more interested in him as a developmental prospect. But, I mean, the depth is thin there in the front court. So if he ends up having some games where he has to play 15, 20 minutes, I'm not going to be surprised at all. And so, last year we saw this with Joseph Pinion. Even he had his moments where he was kind of in and out of the lineup, and we've seen other guys like Jackson Robinson and whoever who've kind of shuffled and fluctuated their roles. And so I think there's room for some of that with these freshmen, but ultimately when it comes down to it, I think you're going to see this team lean on those older guys a little bit more. And, it's fun to talk about all the possibilities with 10, 11 guys, but it always ends up being a shorter rotation than we all expect.
And talking about Layden Blocker, he's the guy that, people take an interest in the fact of the verticals for the players on the team. He has the highest vert on the team, but you mentioned Makai Mitchell, and interesting enough, you think about players that are really athletic, and when you think about Makai Mitchell, you don't necessarily think of him as being that really overly athletic guy, but he has almost a 40-inch vert at his size. That's just kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this team, it's so weird. Pretty much all of these guys, you can see the case. I just mentioned how the rotation is going to be short, and I think it's going to get trimmed down to 8. But, there's so many guys on this team where I'm man, they probably deserve to be playing, I think Makai's the guy where it's I'd say he's earned it just based on the production, what he had last year, and he was the guy that played a good bit for him. You would just imagine Jalen Graham, same thing. And, the way Chandler Lawson played, you just go on down the line, there's a case to be made for literally all of those guys. And Bay Fall and Layden Blocker are definitely not exceptions in that. You got guys with that much talent. They're developing at such a rate where it's in 2 months they might look completely different. So I think there's room for plenty of possibilities with this rotation for sure.
All right, Angie, now Razorback football. Did they beat Auburn? You think that they make it 2 in a row? Did they knock off Auburn for the first time at home since 2015? How do you see that playing out?
They better beat Auburn, John. I'm not even saying that from a I want them to, or I'm not even saying any of that. I just if they don't beat Auburn, then it's I don't know. It just becomes a lot harder to keep up that positive vibe of oh yeah, it seems like they found something. And I agree with everyone. That win last week was so big, and it definitely changes the perception of kind of when you view this thing big picture. But it's just whatever big picture you're going to talk yourself into with this program. They lose to Auburn and officially are not bowl eligible, and it's you lose a home game, a game you're favored in. I don't know. It just becomes a lot tougher to talk yourself into, especially the next 2 games. What are we supposed to talk about for the next 2 weeks? So I would say, if you're a serious football program and you're really, this is a sustainable situation you have here, you beat Auburn at home whenever your season's on the line. Am I talking out of line here? Am I saying anything crazy?
No, you're right on with that, Andrew, simply because the answer would be if they don't win this game against Auburn and you don't have a chance at getting to a bowl, then what we're talking about is what we've been talking about, and that's basketball and the excitement for basketball and what's going to happen there.
Well, it says a lot about that. We just talked for 20 minutes here, and we talked 30 seconds worth of football. We're already kind of at that point, but I definitely think, if they lose this one, it's man, we're going to go ahead and just push football down the road for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't see anybody still feeling good about anything of football other than just, firing everybody. I feel like it'll just be right back to square one where they were a few weeks ago. But I don't know. This is going to be a fascinating one because of just all the reasons that obviously you know about and that we've listed. But to know that Sam Pittman is still fighting for something, this team's still fighting for something. I just have a feeling, though, Andrew, if Arkansas is going to win this game, it's going to be another one-score game, crazy thing that's going to be frustrating like the Florida game. I don't see this being a blowout in any stretch, but I feel like it's going to come down to the wire no matter what.
Yeah, to quote a wise man, I'm sure this is going to go completely as planned, and there's not going to be any dramatic stuff going on. I'll just, I love seeing it every time that Arkansas. It's like I can always count on Phil Rivers to be down by a score late in the fourth quarter of every, like at 2:58 every NFL Sunday. I can always count on like Arkansas being in that range, or it's like a 3-point game going in the fourth quarter, and I see that tweet from John Nabors. That's always what I can like. These are the things that really I love to have in my everyday life.
Speaking of that, Andrew, do you have a favorite NFL team?
Houston Texans. I grew up in Central Louisiana, and my brother moved to Houston when I was like 8 or 9, and so New Orleans was about 3.5 hours from me. But the first pro sports games I ever went to were all Houston, and so I just kind of adopted all those because my family, they were all Razorback fans that grew up in Central Arkansas, and so they weren't. My dad wasn't like super passionate about any pro teams, and so I just kind of, when I was a kid, just decided I was going to pick one and roll with it. I picked the city of Houston, and it worked out.
Yeah, you like to be on the cheaters side of things too with the Astros and all of that. So
exactly.
Hey, listen, you got to win it when you can, man. Got to win it when you can. Andrew Ellis of hogsports.com. As always, man, we appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend, man. We'll be catching up with you later. All right.
Absolutely, man. Look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, appreciate it. Again, that was Andrew Ellis of hogsports.com. We'll take a commercial break here on Out of Bounds. Come back with a little bit more of the headlines and some of your text messages and phone calls on a Trash Talk Thursday. So stay with us.
It's Houston Nut. Wednesdays are Morning Mayhem presented by Reed's Metals of Benton. This holiday season, Reed's Metals is donating a new metal roof to a neighbor in need as part of their Covering the Community program. If you know someone in need of a new roof, nominate them online at reedsmetals.com/giving-back. Nominations accepted through November 22nd.
This is SportsCenter.
Last night in the NBA, the Bucks beat the Pistons 120-118 despite Giannis Antetokounmpo being ejected midway through the third. Bobby Portis had a big night as he had 18 points and 5 rebounds off the bench. On the season, he's averaging 12 points and 5 rebounds in 20 minutes a game. The Grizzlies dropped to 1-7 on the season, losing to the Heat 108-102. The Grizzlies will face the Jazz on Friday. The Wizards beat the Hornets 132-116. Daniel Gafford had 5 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 13 minutes in that game. For the Hornets, Nick Smith Jr. played 4 minutes in the fourth quarter and had 5 points on 2 for 2 from the field. Tonight in the league, there will be a doubleheader on NBA TV. First up, the Pacers will host the Bucks at 6. Then at 8:30, the Hawks will take on the Magic. And in the NFL, Thursday Night Football will have the Bears taking on the Panthers at 7:15. I'm Christian Weaver with the Buzz Radio Network.
Heartland Rehabilitation and Care Center in Benton proudly offers compassionate and loving care to our veterans, meeting the unique needs of every veteran who calls Heartland home. Visit heartlandrehabcenter.com.
Arkansas Brewskis is excited about their second location, and it's time to add to the team. Brewskis North is hiring servers, bartenders, cooks, and managers. To apply, drop by our downtown location and fill out an application. If you want to work in a fun, professional environment, this is for you. Brewskis North is hiring servers, bartenders, cooks, and managers. Apply in person at Brewskis downtown. For more info, check us out online at brewskispubandgrub.com. Brewskis, you're home for lunch, happy hour, and late night.
Hurry up, dude. The game's about to start.
Nothing beats spending the day watching the game with your buddies.
Dude, I'm literally right here. Let's do this.
Which is why a shelter insurance renter's policy is key to your winning game plan. It protects things your landlord's policy doesn't.
Dude, where's your TV?
What?
No way, dude.
Like that flat screen TV that just got stolen.
See Agent Steve Ferguson in Little Rock, Bo Beavis in Cabot, or Daniel Vickers in Sherwood.
David Dunn here with Central Arkansas Truck and Trailer. We're the area's largest and highest rated independent diesel repair facility for all makes and models, from transmissions and brakes to suspensions and engine repair. If you're tired of high dealership prices and long wait times, come see what family-owned and locally operated really means. Expert technicians and the latest computer diagnostics will get your equipment back on the road fast. Take the England exit on I-440 to Central Arkansas Truck and Trailer, 568-2185. That's Central Arkansas Truck and Trailer.
If you're looking for the best deal on a pre-owned vehicle, you'll find it here in Hot Springs on Central Avenue at Motorsports Authority, here with Wild Bill and Magic Mark. These are some fantastic deals, guys.
Hey, Magic Mark, tell us about some of these special rigs you got sitting here. We've got cars for every taste. Cars, trucks, SUVs. This is the best selection of inventory we've had in the past 2 years. More for your trade? Yes. Payments for every budget? Yes.
Online at MSAstore.com. We'll see you at Motorsports Authority.
What are you waiting for?
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Arkansas Army National Guard. Aired by the Arkansas Broadcasters Association and this station.
Ortho Arkansas presents the High School Scoreboard Show with Randy Rainwater, Kevin Bohannon, and Barry Grooms every Friday night at 10, only on 103.7 The Buzz. Brought to you in part by First Security Bank.
Ian Eagle here from Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. Join me along with one of this year's Hall of Fame inductees, Joe Thomas from Soldier Field in Chicago, for NFC action between the Bears and the Carolina Panthers. Both teams looking for a win to lift confidence at the season's halfway point. Don't miss any of the action on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on 103.7 The Buzz.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, there's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/win. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus in President State where lawful to wager. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. First online real money wager only $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700 visit KSGamblingHelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana, visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Help is here. Visit gamblinghelpma.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
Unlike other shows, we don't talk over each other with old hee-haw jokes.
This is bullcrap. Well, wait, I ain't standing for this. We'll burn as hell. Yeah, they're down.
So call or text to actually be heard on Out of Bounds at 501-661-1037. You're listening to Out of Bounds with John Nabors and Joe Franklin.
Trips left. That's into the open side of the field. Got a new running back in the game. They throw it short, and it's intercepted. Inside the 25. That's going to be a touchdown. Arkansas picks it off. That is Antonio Greer. Transfer from South Florida. First action of the season into the end zone. Hogs are on the board.
On 103.7 The Buzz.
She's taking control, pushing the pedal through the floor. I'm begging for more. You better hold on tight.
It's Out of Bounds here on a Trash Talk Thursday, but one thing that I am never going to talk trash about, of course, is Max Prairie Wings in Stuttgart. If you're feeling the weather, you're feeling it a little bit rainy, a little bit cold, a little bit dreary, boy, that's hunting weather, isn't it? And luckily for you, Max Prairie Wings has all the things that you will ever need when it comes to your hunting season. For instance, they have the ladder stands and also the ground bind solutions that you need but plenty of high-quality scopes for your deer rifles and collection with the deer rifles and rifle ammo, deer scent, everything you need to get that buck this year. We know that it's a big hunting state here in Arkansas, and when you are considered to be the best place for all of your hunting needs, you know that it's real, and that's what Max Prairie Wings is all about. And another great thing about them, too, is that if you go online, you can shop them at maxpw.com. It's MACKSPW.com, and you can get some great deals there. So if you can't make it all the way to Stuttgart, just shop them online. And any order that's over $99, you get free shipping. I'm telling you, the deals just continue to go on and on and on with Max Prairie Wings. So you need to be a part of it. You need to go over there and check them out in Stuttgart, or you can shop them online at maxpw.com. And you can also sign up for their newsletter to receive exclusive offers, news, and updates to enhance your hunting experience. The hunt begins right here at Max Prairie Wings, where they're passionate about helping you make this deer season the best one yet. And it's Max Prairie Wings, your one-stop shop for all of your hunting needs. Happy hunting. It is a Trash Talk Thursday here on Out of Bounds, and I know we've had a few people that have been texting in and messaging in, which we'll get to those in a second, because I also want to get to this Peyton Hillis story and dealing with Josh McDaniel. Still a weird one, but let's go to the phone lines and get Chase, who's in North Little Rock, want to chime in. What's up, Chase? You with us, Chase?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
We got you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm here. I was hearing some talk earlier about the rivalry issue with Arkansas and Missouri. I wanted to give my take on it.
Okay.
When it comes to rivalries, a rivalry is created on the field. It's through plays that make you hate the other team for an entire year. You have to have the history behind it and the hate. It's like Outcast taught us in Equimini that there's a thin line between love and hate. And so we love that game because we hate who we're playing against. One thing that you can do to jumpstart a rivalry if you don't have a history is get a trophy. People like playing for shiny things. And the other thing is just continue to play each other. So why I don't think we're rivals right now with Missouri, I think we will be, because we're constantly going to be put in a situation where the last game of the year is against Missouri, and it's going to control our fate for be it a better bowl, going to a bowl game. If all of my Hail Marys landed, then going to the college football playoff. But yeah, we're calling them our rival now. It's going to happen, but it's just like a placeholder for, say, LSU, who also was accelerated by the boot. That's just kind of my take on it, is that, we can't force it. We can just call them our, if you don't think they're a rival now, call them our permanent revolving opponent. And then once you figure out they're your rival, then you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to look at it, because I agree with you, too, as far as, the LSU rivalry. I think the boot was officially I can't remember the year is officially created. I know they started calling it that maybe in 96, something to that extent. But, it was always a game.
David Badwell's mustache was still just luscious at the point when it came out, I believe.
Oh, man, yeah, I bet it was. But that's the thing is, like, when it came out, there were some games and, it was a thing. And LSU, I think it was in the late 90s, they weren't very good. I think it was Gary DiNardo or whatever his name was the coach. But what made it into what it was, or at least what it is now, and how Razorback fans felt about it, is exactly what you talked about, games of consequence. Because there were times where that game, the winner won the SEC West. Arkansas sometimes won it, and then other times LSU won it. And then you already build it from that. And then later it was like in the 2006 season, if you would have beaten LSU, you would have been maybe in the driver's seat to play for a national championship. You didn't. And in 2010, the winner goes to the Sugar Bowl. That's what really put it some consequence. But since that Missouri game's been at the end of the year, you just have no games of consequence. You've had no games of like, oh, man, if this happens, if you beat this team, then, man, this great thing's going to happen. It hasn't been that. So that's why I feel like also people are pretty a little bit not repulsed by it, but just they're very apprehensive about calling it a rivalry because you just haven't had those types of games just yet.
Have you ever seen like a footage from a cockfight? Like they have to take the chickens and bump them into each other a couple times first before they actually, get to scrapping. I, by the way, do not take part in cockfighting, nor do I condone it, just for the record.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm glad we could set the record straight. I have not seen any of those videos, but I get what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. All right. That was it. That was just my hot take on rivalries. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it, Chase. Thanks for calling in. I wanted to bring up this story, too, before we get to our final segment of 3 and Out. But, Joe, I think the guys on the Zone were talking about it. But, Josh McDaniels fired from the Raiders, and, that was his second stint in the NFL as a head coach because he was also with the Broncos. And there was a former Broncos player who put out this memoir and was talking about some of the things that he really did not like about Josh McDaniels and some of the things that was brought out. And part of it was that he says, like, Josh McDaniels is a bad football coach, and there were some things about him when he talked about when he was cut, and said that Josh McDaniels butted heads with Jay Cutler, with Brandon Marshall, with Tony Scheffler, like, because those were all Mike Shanahan guys, and so he made him uncomfortable. And like all this stuff, talking about that. But what was pretty fascinating, at least from the Arkansas angle and the Peyton Hillis angle, is that it says in the memoir, McDaniel's ego was not only fragile on the field, he famously shipped out Peyton Hillis because, rumor had it, McDaniels thought his wife was attracted to Peyton Hillis. And I saw that, and I'm like, man, I know that's just a rumor and putting it in there, but, just kind of rip Josh McDaniels. And if that's the case, or if that was some sort of true rumor, that really makes for an even more wild story. But it didn't seem like anybody really had any sort of love for Josh McDaniels for anybody that played for him as a head coach, it seems like.
A lot of crazy stories coming out that are connected to Josh McDaniels, and even Davante Adams, who, there was a lot of rumors around him possibly being traded. And of course, he's still with the Raiders. He was at an NBA game, and there was an NBA ref talking to Davante Adams and telling him how big of a Raiders fan he is, and he just wants to see good things happen for the organization. And Davante was telling him, he's like, oh, everything's going to be a lot better now. Trust me on that. Everything, with the players and the team, everybody's starting to come together as one, and everything will be a lot better. So just listening to what Davante Adams had to say to the ref, you're already reading in between the lines on that, and the fact that nobody really liked Josh McDaniels as the head coach, and they have such a belief in Antonio Pierce and moving forward.
No, I know that you never know until you get somebody in there, and he's somebody that was under Bill Belichick and learned a lot from him, and maybe had some success as an assistant. But I just feel like it's one thing if you're a coach and you go into the NFL, and we'll just use the NFL as an example. If you're a head coach and you just don't win, if you're just not it, if you just don't get it, if it doesn't work out, you don't have the roster, whatever it is, it's one thing if you just don't win. But to me, it's quite another thing when, like, universally, everyone hates you. Like, not only do you not win, but then, like, all the players resent you. All of them feel like you got all these issues, and it's just like, man, that's got to be extra horrible. Is like, not only do you not win games, but then all the players resent you and hate you so much so that even after the fact, they still hold a grudge. Like, that takes, to me, a lot of talent to do, to be terrible, but also to have everyone to hate you for it too.
Now, the one person within that organization, and of course he has a minority stake, is Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is somebody that would have Josh McDaniels back. And you almost kind of wonder, was he consulted in the fact of some of the things that were happening there and asked about Josh McDaniels? Because they did win together and they won a lot. But ultimately, Josh McDaniels is gone. So you wonder how Tom Brady even factored into that, or if he even factored into it at all.
Well, that is our final commercial break coming up. And then when we're going to take that, we'll come back with 3 and Out, get to some headlines, some storylines, some things we didn't get into, close up shop, get you ready for Drive Time Sports. It's all coming up next on Out of Bounds.
Thanksgiving is almost here, which means it's time to start thinking about your holiday plans. This year, save time along with the worry and hassle and let the team at Edwards Food Giant do it for you. Their turkey dinner includes the turkey as well as their signature cornbread dressing, giblet gravy, cranberry sauce, and dinner rolls. All fully cooked, homemade, and ready for you to heat and serve to your family. If that's not enough, their deluxe turkey dinner also includes sweet potato casserole, green beans, and apple pie. Now that's what I call a Thanksgiving spread. Click on edwardsfoodgiant.com to view their full menus and find out how to order your dinner.
Hi, I'm Rick Pennington of Lions Drug. We have great news. Generic Cialis is now available at a huge savings. We have Tadalafil, the FDA-approved generic of Cialis, in a 20-milligram tablet at a savings of up to 80%. We have the 5-milligram daily tablets for less than $3 a pill. Lions Drug continues to be your go-to pharmacy for men's health. What are you waiting for? Call us today at 844-676-2247 or go to our website at lionsdrug.com.
Attention Arkansas homeowners. Bath Makeover of Arkansas started with 50, then 30. Now we've reached the final days. Looking for 20 homeowners to participate in our first ever Rake in the Fall Savings event. 20 homeowners will receive test market pricing on a beautiful new walk-in shower. Bath Makeover is looking to evaluate our exciting new product lines in real bathroom conditions, including our revolutionary new laser-etched shower wall system. Homeowners will be compensated for their time just to determine if our exquisite product lines are the right fit for your bathroom project. 20 homeowners who call 1-800-357-0956 will save 75% on installation of a new walk-in shower. Ask about 18 months, no interest, no payments, senior and military discounts, and call 1-800-357-0956 now to receive a free $50 Restaurant.com gift card with estimate. Call Bath Makeover now at 1-800-357-0956.
Companies are shifting their telephone systems to the cloud, and you should too. ESI eCloud PBX has everything you need. Features like work from anywhere, video calls, and advanced security tools make ESI eCloud PBX one of the best choices for any business. Opt out of the high cost of your traditional phone system and move to the cloud. Sign up for an online demo at nsgdv.com and get your system activated at no charge.
Network Services Group. One call does it all.
Here's another remarkable success story from QC Kinetics. This one from Chad, who hurt his knee at the gym one day, and it just kept on hurting for months.
From my high school football and wrestling days, I already had a little bit of damage in there, but this just sent it over the edge.
Chad tried traditional treatments with no improvement when he turned to the non-surgical regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics.
It was really fascinating how they did their work, and the science behind it was very intriguing, and it works. Extracting the cure out of my own body blew my mind. It's like I'm brand new again. It was fantastic.
That's because the QC Kinetics natural biologic treatments use your body's own healing power to restore damaged tissue in your hips, shoulders, back, and knees, providing long-lasting relief.
Now I'm back at the gym. I'm 100% feeling great.
If you're tired of suffering with pain from arthritis or injury, call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 501-222-8440. That's 501-222-8440. 501-222-8440.
Join the zone each Monday for game balls and jock straps. Brought to you by A Caddy's Touch Landscaping. Find out who made the best, average, and worst headlines in sports and entertainment each Monday as Justin Acree and Wes Moore give you their game balls and jock straps on the zone from 10 to 1. It's all brought to you by A Caddy's Touch Landscaping. 501-794-2770. Call today to get your landscape updated to a whole new level and be listening for game balls and jock straps only on 103.7 The Buzz.
It's not just about the size of the meat, it's about where you get it from. So get it from Hoggs Meat Market in North Little Rock. Hoggs Meat Market, the steak people.
Kane is in the building.
Their time is done. It's over.
Over? Did you say over?
Nonsense. I've not yet begun to defile myself.
Call Kenny Loggins, because you're in the danger zone.
I play real sports. Not trying to be the best at exercising.
It's time for 3 and Out. It's been 3 hours, and we are...
Boom. Out of here.
All right, it is time for 3 and Out. A few headlines, a few storylines, a few things that we got to dive into. But before we do that, I got to tell you about Gwatney Chevrolet in Jacksonville, as they have great deals going on all of their vehicles. Like right now, you can get a 2023 Chevrolet Silverado just with less than 2% APR financing. I mean, you're not getting that kind of deal anywhere else, folks. And it's only with Gwatney Chevrolet. Or you can get $2,000 total cash allowance with them. And they also still have a great amount of pre-owned vehicles to you choose from. As they say, they're good enough for mom. So if they're good enough for you to buy them for your mother, they're good enough for you to be in. And they have all different types to choose from, whether it's an SUV, whether it's a pickup truck, or whether it's just a full-size car. They got it all. And you can't go wrong when you go with Gwatney Chevrolet, as they have beautiful cars in there too. And they have an award-winning sales staff that'll help you get in that vehicle that you want, and a service staff. So when you do get your vehicle, you can always go back there and get some of the best service around, and they'll take care of your vehicle needs. And that's what Gwatney Chevrolet does, because they are Arkansas's #1 Chevy dealer. So check them out today at 1301 TP White Drive in Jacksonville, right off the Gregory Street exit. You can also shop them online with GwatneyChevrolet.com. So no matter what your need may be, do it with Gwatney Chevrolet and GwatneyChevrolet.com. Okay, so 3 and Out, a few headlines and storylines and some fun stuff too. So I thought this was pretty funny, because I love like outrage that happens on social media, especially on X, and especially on people that seem to have at least a little bit of a presence there. But there's a guy named David Schuster who works for it's a political outlet. We won't have to get involved in that. But either way, he was quite upset because of some of the things that's been going on with the coverage of Michigan football and how ESPN has been covering it. So we know about, of course, Michigan and the sign stealing and everything, and he's a Michigan alum. Well, he's been tweeting at Bob Iger, the chairman of Disney, saying, "My family and I were planning a week-long trip to Disney World in 2024, but we have now paused the reservations, giving ESPN and College Game Day, which Disney and ABC oversees. If Feinbaum isn't fired, ESPN, our family will go to Six Flags. Congratulations." And he went on a whole nother stuff about how much it's just a conspiracy theory and how they're treating it and how they're looking at Michigan because of all these things. And this is somebody that's got like 100,000 followers and actually has an astute journalism degree and everything. So I guess college football will make us all crazy. But I'm glad to see that even Michigan fans got a little SEC in them when they start threatening to protest some things if they don't get their way and if they don't get their team talked about in a positive way.
NBPA Executive Director Tamika Tremaglio has stepped down, and Andre Iguodala, who recently retired, he's going to be the union's acting executive director. Now, he was a longtime member of the NBPA's executive committee, and there's going to be a formal search to find a permanent replacement for executive director. But for now, with Andre Iguodala coming in as the acting executive director, CJ McCollum, who's the NBPA president, and he plays for the New Orleans Pelicans, he said, "We thank Tamika for her service and leadership throughout the CBA process and are thrilled to welcome Andre as acting executive director." So a new exciting role for Andre Iguodala.
It was pretty funny last night seeing Giannis get ejected, which anytime that a player gets ejected is always big news, but especially with Giannis because he was taunting a little bit after a big dunk. And this was in the early parts of the third quarter. But not only when he got ejected, he disagreed with the call, but he also, as a form of protest, just went over and sat in the front row seats with some of the fans that was just sitting there, as he was still pretty frustrated and upset of where it went. So glad to know that he could have a funny moment about it and got some funny moments with the fans there too. But he's just not very happy with the way that he was ejected, just simply for taunting, as they called it, after a big dunk.
Justin Jefferson says that he's going to return soon to the Vikings lineup, but his hamstring injury, he said he won't play until he's 100%. He says the hamstring is a difficult injury just because it lingers and it comes back from time to time. If you don't put the right treatment into it, the guys and the rest of the coaching staff in this building know my worth on the field, and they want me at 100% as well as I do. I don't just want to go out there at 80 or 90% and have a chance of hurting it again. So it's just day to day. And when that time comes, I'll definitely be ready to step out there.
So there was a Texas radio show host who had to own up to a bet after the Rangers won the World Series because earlier this season, when asked about his team's chances to make the postseason, the manager of Texas Rangers said, "The only thing I need to know right now is the catcher, Austin Hedges. What's the number on your rear end right now? With many speculating that Hedges was keeping track of the magic number of wins and to win the World Series. Well, following that, Jeff Kavanaugh, who is a radio show host there in Texas, said, if the Rangers win it all, I'll get a tattoo with the number 0 on my rear end after the team beat Baltimore in the ALDS. Well, he owned up to it. He got a logo on his rear end with video form with the number 0. So glad to see that some people, unlike Mad Dog Russo or whatever, actually owns up to the things that they say when they say they're going to do it when it comes to their sports bets.
Shaq Leonard is not happy about his reduced role with the Colts, but he is somebody that has dealt with some injuries here in the past couple of years. He's had some complications from back surgeries and some nerve damage there. And now he's been relegated pretty much to a third down linebacker and being on the field during third downs. But he said now that the team came to him and they told him they're reducing his reps and his role on second down too. And he said it's just heartbreaking to get to that point. And once he heard that, it really kind of sucked for him. Now, he was the 2018 Defensive Player of the Year, and he feels like he's getting back close to form. But the Colts coaching staff and defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, they don't see it that way. They disagree with him, and they just want to work him back in slow and make sure that he's healthy.
So the Utah Jazz, of course, always will remember the time that Michael Jordan beat them in their building for his 6th NBA title, and which would have been their first. And they still hold a grudge, so much so that the Wi-Fi inside of where the Utah Jazz play their basketball games, the Wi-Fi is called Jordan Pushed Off. So if you're looking to connect to the Wi-Fi there where the Utah Jazz play, just get on your little iPhone and look at the different networks and find the one that says Jordan Pushed Off, and you'll be able to get right into their high-speed internet.
There's a woman in the UK on TikTok, and she got a tat. We see face tats all the time now, but she actually got her boyfriend's name tatted across her forehead. And she was asked about it, and she did confirm that it's real. And she said, I know it's a bit crazy, and it's hard for me to believe that I still did it to this day. But if you want to express your feelings, I think that if you really love someone, you should be able to show it off.
Also, in some funny news with Victor Wembanyama, he went to Madison Square Garden last night, and he was booed a lot. And, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they'd be all pretty frustrated with him. But when he was asked about being booed at the arena last night, he just simply said, well, it wasn't as big as I expected when talking about Madison Square Garden. So a little chippiness and a little trash talk already from the young rookie.
Charlie Sheen, we know that he was a bit upset when he heard that his daughter Sammy was getting on OnlyFans, but in the past few months it's been revealed how much money she's making with her OnlyFans, and now Charlie Sheen has had a change of heart because he sees that she's putting it to good use and that the income is flowing.
It's amazing what happens when they see the money, how their mind can change when it comes to OnlyFans. Well, appreciate everybody listening in Out of Bounds today. For Joe Franklin, I am John Nabors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow afternoon. Stay tuned, folks. We got Drive Time Sports coming up next.